relates to student achievement, right? We tend to get teachers that are a year, 2 years out of college, they stick around, they're not getting the increases, so they move on to the next district. So then we're constantly getting these teachers who are a year or two in. So we look at teacher retention, so how do we get that? Let's do increased pay is one of the things that we look at. That's one of the avenues. So then that relates to budget, right? So when the budget comes, right, if we are not giving the superintendent and his team some direction on what we're expecting, ultimately we have to vote on that budget.
But you have given him direction.
How?
Because you've told him you want, he's got to go figure it out. He's got to make a recommendation to you. Hey, I need
But let's say I don't like that recommendation.
That's the board's decision.
Right, well, exactly, that's but that's the board's decision, right? But let's say that we know nothing, we walk into contract, or we walk into the closed session, and we're presented with this, and we're supposed to go out and vote on it, right? And if we don't like it, what happens if the majority of the board doesn't like that option? Then have we failed him?
If we've done the processes and procedures correctly.
Okay, what are the processes and procedures?
If you're looking at budget,
you
shouldn't be coming into a discussion the last night and get the whole budget.
Exactly.
But, again, you've got a new superintendent, so let's not grab everything and go forward, and that's why we're having this discussion.
What do you expect? If we have
what do you expect from your superintendent? That's what we're trying to set up. So you look at budget, the budget cycle starts in January. You'd be getting update. It's his job with his staff to bring a recommendation to us. When you're saying that we want retention of staff as part of his budget cycle, he's got to be talking to his administrators and say, okay, what do we got to do to retain our staff? Which means they're probably going to have to talk to the staff and say, what do you guys need? We don't know what the teachers, we're assuming it's on dollars and cents. It's not always about dollars and cents.
Not always, but
it's about culture, it's about how they're treated, the respect, the trust. I mean, and I can tell you unequivocally, you're not alone in this boat. Every district's facing the same problem. Because just like school choice stealing each other's children, we now do school choice for staff.
Right.
And whoever can give them the next shiny object, the staff of 20 and 30 years is gone. The teacher that stays in the district from start to finish their career is gone. These young teachers coming out are very mobile. And if they don't like what's going on, they're going to look for the next shiny object. And that's hard on us because that's not how we remember it being. But we have to be part of the discussion. Our job is to say, are we staying within the parameters we've set?
So, just continuing on that. So, it would be fair to say, though, it would be wise of us to have meetings as a board to collectively, as a board, speak through the board to give our superintendent direction on that issue so that he knows what to bring to us come budget time, correct?
Well, do you work committee of the whole or subcommittees?
We have not.
We don't have them.
Okay, so part of it is you've got to have a discussion about how you do that. Because if you're doing subcommittee, then it would be the finance committee who would be meeting with him and his budget people and saying, and really not saying do this over this. It's like, hey, we're thinking if we do, to give staff this, it's going to cost us this. We may see kindergarten go from 23 students in classroom to 25 clip. Is that palatable? That's where it's coming to us.
We meet with the superintendent monthly.
Yeah.
So we all collectively.
Yep.
So I mean, so that's where we get this is where, he has direction and he gives us updates of how things are going.
Right, if I could just counter that, that's individually, and we just got done setting the premise that we speak as a board.
Right.
We set the parameters. We give him guidance, say, hey, go do this, and he does it. He lets us know individually how it's going. We don't have to sit and tell him, I'm going to tell you to do this very strongly. I urge you to do this individually. It would be wrong.
Right. But again, it's a governance where you guys have to have a discussion is what's going to be your governance model going forward. Tonight I'm going to stick on evaluation and we'll bring some of this into the discussion. But one of the things you've got to put on the table is you've got to have some soul searching as a group. What is your structure going to look like? Because it's either committee of the whole or subcommittee. There's really no other mechanism for this. So you either have 3-member subcommittees, or like you're doing tonight, you come together and it's a study session, it's committee of the whole. And you come in and you do that work as a group. You have to decide what works for you guys and what works for our superintendent. Because again, if you have 5 committees, he's got to be at 5 more meetings every week or every month to be there with us. What works for us, what works for him, what works with our schedules, you guys have to have those discussions, but bringing it right back to tonight's subject, again, if we're not doing our job well and properly and in focus and within our swim lane, it's really hard for him to be able to get the feedback he needs. Again, it's not our job to say, go here. Our job is to say, here's the box you gotta live with. You can take 2% of our fund equity. You come with us recommendations. We're not gonna tell you how to spend it. You gotta come to us, because we just told you what we want. What are you gonna do to get these 3 things with that money that we just released to you? And then he's gonna bring it back. Now, if you don't think it's gonna get us to where we wanna be, different. If we don't like what it is, that's not our society. Because that's not where because we're the long vision, not the day-to-day hours.
But I think part of, and that's, I get that, and I think that's part of what my argument is that we have to give them the tool of, as a board collectively meeting, in committee of the whole, subcommittee, or what have you, to give him that box that he can work within, so that he can be successful.
Well, think this in contract negotiations. The 7 of you and him have to go into a closed session and have a discussion. What's the parameters? You're not saying give them 2%, 3%. It's, here's what the outcome is. You got this amount of money. This is what we're expecting. We want to see staff stay. So you got to figure out a way with your staff to make that happen within this framework.
And
Then he's got to bring a result back.
And he brings us recommendations of this is how we can do it, we can do A or B.
Yeah.
And
You
it's
tell, at that
recommendations,
point,
let us know.
what
Yes.
do you like the pain in this column
Yes.
or the pain in this column? You know?
How much you want it to hurt.
But that's what we're supposed to be doing, versus saying, do this pain, then do this pain. That's not, because again, we don't know all the nuances. We're not in the negotiations, we're not in the budget discussions. We're not having those discussions all the way down on the root table, root issue. So even like retention of staff. He's probably got a better handle of why staff's leaving than we do. We're here getting hearsay, we think we have a pretty good handle on it. But until you're actually in the trenches, and he's actually in the field with his staff, in the buildings, seeing what's going on and what they face every day. Now, hopefully, as we go forward, that's the stuff he's gonna bring to you and say, okay, here's why we gotta do it. And one of the biggest things you're gonna find, you're having overwhelming response on your survey right now, right? Well, what do you think some of those results might look like? Who's the barrier to success in your district? I don't know the results, but I can guess what your staff and your community are. They're sitting in this room. You're not the only one. I just went through it in District 1 North. It's what's going on right now because we're the face of the district. But if we don't give the superintendent the room to do their job, then we're holding the whole district back. We have to trust. We can't buy into we're the bad guys. What we have to buy into is we're here. If we want to be better tomorrow, what are we going to do as a team to make him successful? If he's successful, she's successful. And the building administrators are successful, and the bus drivers are successful, and get your kids here every day. And food service is going to be a wash and cash because they're going to be making food the kids want to buy. And you're not running deficit all the time. It's a trickle-down thing. But if they look here and don't trust this group, this 8-member leadership team, you can talk to you're gonna have a great strategic plan, you're gonna have, great expectations for your superintendent, but if we don't buy into a team effort where we work together collaboratively, consensus, whenever we can build consensus through this whole process, you're spinning your wheels. And that's hard to do. We don't wanna do that. We can't do that. Because each kid, kids are coming tomorrow. Here we are tonight, you're gonna make some decisions tonight, you just made some, right? You effectively said this is what we want. So you're already making decisions that affect children, because they're coming tomorrow. We have to do that every day. Every time we come together, what's our focus? That's what's nice about strategic plan. Vision, mission, core values, and goals sitting right in front of you. Now we can look, here's the roadmap. Shiny objects go away. Your staff will love you first off, because we're not changing gears every week. They hate it. Here's the plan for the next 5 years, let's go. Will there be some changes and tweaks? Yeah. Mostly because the state's gonna come in and throw a monkey wrench in some. But we as a team, part of that is we have to set up our own governance model. It's not his job to set up our governance model. It's you guys have to decide what you're gonna do to assist him. He can make a recommendation, hey, I think committee of the whole might be better than subcommittee, or subcommittee over committee of the whole, but it's your decision. Make it. Okay. Yes, sir.
I think that probably is where there's a disagreement as well, is what governance model are we using, right? Because, you know, the one-on-ones, that's, I think, is helpful to get information, but for the clear direction, it must be within a committee structure or within a collective board.
Right.
Because, you know, I just think of, you know, one of my employee teams, right? And if I'm telling each one of them individually something that I want, it's better to
It's
meet
not
with them
always
as a
gonna
group.
be, and
Right.
it's like those telephone games,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
You
And then
think about
everyone
it,
interprets what I said differently.
exactly.
Right, so we might all be telling him the same thing, but he's getting 4 or 5 different interpretations of it.
Well, and it depends how busy you were that morning, how frustrated you are, and the message gets out. That's why you have to. I'm gonna challenge you before you approve your strategic plan, right? When's your retreat? June? So you got a little time, but by the time your retreat comes, you have to have a governance structure in place. Because you're not gonna be successful. We want you to be successful. You're going through a lot of work between superintendent evaluation, governance, strategic planning. You need to have that piece locked down so that if you go forward, you know exactly what that structure is gonna look like. So as you see that plan start to come together, they understand the structure of what the board's gonna be doing because you're gonna be the monitors of this with the senior staff in your district. Okay? Does that help to get you guys focused as a group? I'm hurrying. So we got 3, we've given him 3 specific goals. So let's look at the rubric. We're in section A. As you look through it, are any of these jumping out first off as maybe high priorities? In the first section. We're not gonna finalize our high priorities. We'd like to kind of go through each section real quick and see which ones jump out at us. Because we may say, yeah, that's a good one, and then we find 3 more that are even more critical to us, so. No, A, section A. Yeah, G, those 2 are automatics.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, those are automatics. But in these 5, the professional domains, are any of these jumping out of it that are a priority on page 4? Yep, right at the top there. Are any of these where you would say they are A's or #1 priorities? With everything you know what's going on in the district.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's go with B
Well,
then. We'll come back, we're gonna circle back, unless you have one.
Well, A5,
Board questions?
yeah, I don't think we have a system in place for good communication. I think it depends on the board member, and I'm not sure that the board feels comfortable with, I don't know any other way to slot it than, where any other place to slot it than that.
Okay.
But I recognize that this board is a roadblock and not an enabler to our strategic plan and our goals.
Everything
And
you're trying to do. Yeah.
I do, and I want us to be better, and I think the flow of conversation and dialogue and information, and I don't know any other way to slot it, is.
So I got it on as our possible A's. Okay, let's go into section
That's
B.
just my opinion, so I
No,
guess I
no,
want-
that's, we want to get a handle of what, any ones that jump off. We're not trying to come to consensus yet. I just want to get a working list of how many we have. And then we'll go back and debate as a group. You can debate which ones stay and which ones go, and we get down to that fine list of them. But you know what needs to be focused on in your district to improve the current situation. Okay? Think about communication, think about trust, think about respect, those kind of things. And sometimes it's not because it's bad. It doesn't have to be a priority because it's bad. It might be a priority because we're good, but we want him to get better because it's necessary for him to succeed with the transition from last superintendent to this superintendent. So it's not always a negative, as you guys said, a continuous improvement. Good to great. Anything in this section jumping out at you?
Well, district image has always been huge to me. I think that's one of our biggest problems, if, you know, especially from people wanting to move here, or the talk you get on social media. I mean, I think back to when we moved to Waterford, you know, 20 years ago. My God, the crap we took that we were gonna move to Waterford, possibly send our kids to these schools, you know. I think our district image is, you know, internal, I think it's good. For the people who have kids here, I mean, for the most part, they're happy. I mean, you know, we've all had kids go through the district. It's that, the unknown of
It's the
people
other
that don't know
75.
that.
It's the other
they have that just-
75%
Yeah.
that
right.
don't have any kids in your district, you know,
Mhm.
that's a hard one, and you're trying to get money, and that's the people you gotta touch.
Mhm.
You know, when you're looking at bonds and, you know, trying to go out for funding, that's the group you really gotta connect with, is that 75%. So I've got it down as possible. Any other ones in that section? If not, go into the C section, staff relations.
I think this is an area where we have some room to grow. There,
Okay.
C1, C2, C3, C4.
Okay. Any other ones jump out at you? We're gonna circle back around. Okay. Let's look at D real quick. Business and finance.
D5 for me, resource allocation.
Okay.
I would agree on that one as well.
Okay. Any other ones?
D1, budget development and management.
Okay. All right, let's look at section E. Section E is actually 2 pages long. There's 10, there's actually 10 in this section.
I think what I would say about this one is, it is of paramount importance, but I'm not sure that we have good visibility into, we kind of get it piecemeal, and I know we had an excellent study session relative to curriculum and student performance, but, for example, school improvement plans. I know that we talked about those, I have not seen them, and that's one of the things on here. I know we do a lot of great work with staff development. These are all things that, to me, are the building blocks for the improved performance and academic achievement. So I know we have work to do in this area, even though we work really hard. So I don't want to pick just one, because these are the building blocks.
Well, don't forget, we've already given them 3 that cover a lot of stuff.
Right,
Remember, staff retention, student retention, and academics.
right.
So that's the high priority, that's the first priority. This is level 2, okay? So
But
some of
might
this stuff is
enable
incorporate,
those-
right,
Those
Right.
3 objectives.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, E5, curriculum.
Okay. Okay, so we got 9 possibles, 9 out of 34. So 25% of them are at 8 priorities or close to it. So let's look at the ones we've chosen and see, now that we've got a preliminary working list, let's see which ones really are starting to jump out and say, is this priority or is this kind of a B priority? Because we can mark some things that are B that are on like the watch list, and if something in an A drops down through the year, one of those Bs can come up. It's kind of off, back and forth kind of thing. So you might get an A done, be happy with it, it slides down, we pull something back up. But we want to stay at 4 or 5 A's, never more than that, so that we can be focused as they are. So let's look at section A. The first one there was A5. Board questions are addressed with follow-up to all board members is effective. What's that mean to you guys? How would you say he would be effective?
I think I want to retract my suggestion on this one because I don't think it's work the superintendent needs to do. I think it's work this board needs to do.
Okay.
So I would say how we communicate with one another and with our superintendent is more of an issue than how he communicates with us.
Because I was going to address it, board questions, the answers us directly, sometimes we get an email on it, and sometimes it'll be part of our Friday information. So I mean, that's why I was wondering why you brought that up.
It's the other way around, I think.
Okay, yeah, because
It's
again,
how
I've
we
never,
ask our
It's how
questions,
we
when we ask them.
and what we're asking.
Yep.
And
So I'm gonna mark that over here as a possible board goal. And that's what part of this process is about, is identifying, some of it is on our side of the street. Some of it's on his side of the street. And that's why we wanna have these discussions, it's like, is it really his? And so I appreciate you identifying that it's really our side of the street, it's not him that's an issue. So we're gonna take A5 off, let's go to the B section, B5. District image, projects a positive image of the district as expected, well-spoken. Now, remember, this is what he's doing, not the district. That's the hard part. So,
See,
Well, when I brought up image,
Mhm.
and I don't necessarily think that's a problem he does. I think he has a great image. I mean, he's, doing outstanding. I guess that's just one of my big things for our overall
so
district.
whose list should it really be on, though?
I think
It's everybody's.
it should be on the general Michigan list.
It's everybody.
But you're the board, you're the elected
Right.
body.
Mhm.
You set the tone.
Right.
So this is one of those, again, we're gonna put over here on our side of the fence. So let's go to C. See, it doesn't look as daunting once you start actually getting into them. Okay, we did C1 through 4. First off, remember our top level thing was retention of staff, right? So let's look at these. C1, readily accept staff input and engage the staff in district-wide goal setting and/or decision-making. What's that look to you? D1 effective. See, where we,
C1?
go ahead.
You said C1?
C1, sorry, C1. Readily accepts staff input and engages staff in district-wide goal setting and/or decision-making.
See, I would not say when you read it that way that that's a problem. I
There's my
mean, just
point.
from,
and again, we don't
You
we're
have-
not in part of the day-to-day.
You have to read what the evaluation's looking for. Now, I think what you guys were looking at is we have to do a better job of interacting with our staff to see what they need and all their wants. That's outside. This is school improvement plans, district improvement plans, strategic planning, goal setting. If you look at all three feedbacks, they're all worded the same. It's not that we go out and engage them where we get frustrated is because they give us information, but we don't do what they want. And then they get mad. You're not listening to me. No, I listened to you. I just didn't choose to do what you told me to do. And so that's why they frame it this way, that it's goal setting, decision making. Because ultimately, there's only one decision maker, day to day. Sooner or later, the buck stops here. Okay? So again, I think if the concern was listening to staff for retention, I think that's that higher, loftier thing that I think you're going to see. I would imagine, with my experience, you're going to see a goal somewhere embedded on retention of staff. Attracting, retaining great staff. If it's not a goal, it's going to be an objective under one of your goals. We've seen it, I've done 3 to 4 this year, and every one of them's had something in that genre of, sometimes it was written under the whole, you know, taking care of the whole child and staff. And that's where it came out of, was objective is how do we take care of our staff, which then leads to them wanting to stay. We look at their healthy mental health as much as their physical health, their emotional health. So, okay. So let's look at 2. Staff communication. Consistently keep staff informed of important matters.
It's hard because we don't see evidence of this, so I don't know how.
We can judge it.
How can we-
We're not in day-to-day, we're not, it's not our job.
Sometimes the judgment is the absence of information.
Right,
You've been here how long now, Joe?
12 years.
12 years. In your 12 years, if you had a superintendent not communicating or not interacting, not being in the buildings, would staff find search you out? Would you not hear from your community through the grapevine?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's the absence of that coming to you, even if it's around the horseshoe kind of thing, is where we have to read into that. Now, he can share some of the things he's doing through the year. We don't want day-to-day operations TikTok, but maybe he's putting out an all-staff newsletter. We might get a copy of it. Or he's meeting staff at their staff meetings through this cycle. So it's an update in his weekly update. By the way, this month, my schedule is to meet at each staff meeting and talk to them about what's going on, especially the strategic planning kind of thing. So, but sometimes it's the absence of, because let's face it, they all know you. If something's not going well, they're gonna find ways to get the message to you. Be it directly to you, through your kids, through the neighbor, through your spouse, it gets back to us. And so that's where that comes from.
And Scott does share sometimes when he is in the building where he's been to different things, part of our board notes on Friday, just little updates of
I guess
what he's been wondering.
my question, not that
Sure.
not that I think Scott has an issue in this arena,
Yeah.
but just, I'm 6 years on the board now, so previous experience. Like
Yep.
you said, people do come to us,
Mhm.
you know, and so in those instances, like you said, it's good, you know, hearing nothing is good, no news is good news kind of thing, right?
Yep.
But when we do hear the bad, you know, and we hear an overwhelming amount of it,
Mhm.
in those instances,
Mhm.
what, in your view, what is our role there?
That's when you, remember we talked about the quarterly touch bases, and it can be monthly if we need something quicker than that next quarterly, but that's where you bring it up. If we're hearing a lot of chatter, first off, you're closing the loop with him right away, so he
Should
knows.
we be in quarterly evaluating?
You're not scoring it quarterly.
No,
We're
I'm
gonna meet
like,
at
for
least
instance,
quarterly.
Right.
Yeah.
But
As a
this-
group.
As
Well,
a
this
group,
is my other
closed
issue.
session.
When was the last time we met?
Yeah. Well, but see, that's where it's going tonight.
So
We're
let's
gonna
just
set the
say,
months.
I think the last time we met was September,
Yeah.
right? And now
But when before we leave
Not in
tonight,
January?
we're gonna
No.
set
We started?
we're gonna
No.
set which meetings you're gonna do his session in, so we're gonna set them tonight.
I'm just saying,
It's
if
part of the
that
agenda.
was an incident, let's say that was an issue, so I would wait 7 months to bring it up?
No, you go to him right away, right? You go
Right,
to
that's what I'm
him,
saying.
But then you go to your president and say, you know what, I think we need to have a closed session for periodic personnel evaluation, where we can go and have that discussion, it's his choice going open or closed. Don't add it the night of the board meeting, because then it'll look like, oh, we're gonna scalp him. But if he knows ahead of time,
Well, let's say you go to the board president and you ask,
mhm,
you don't get that meeting,
you
so
have
then
procedures in place.
No.
No, we
So
have
you got some-
bylaws, we have bylaws.
Right, we don't have board.
But board procedures is the bylaws morphed out stronger. So that, what a lot of boards do, to call a special meeting or have that session.
Tried it,
No, but you don't have any do you have policies that give you that recommendation?
yeah.
Okay, but like what a lot of boards will do is it takes 3 to make that call instead of the president. Well, 3 gets you 1 vote short of the majority. So if you can get 2 other friends to say, yeah, I think we should talk about it, but the procedures would have that spelled out, by how many meetings does that have to happen? It's a consensus document, I can live with it. It's not a voted document, because then we're in the minority, we don't tend to. But it eliminates that issue of people calling special meetings, you know, that if you have specifics, here's what special meetings are for, here's what they're called for, blah, blah, blah. We should have mechanisms in place that takes all the personalities out of it.
Well, that's, I guess, so what you're saying though is in that instance, it would be appropriate to call a special meeting.
You wouldn't have to call a special meeting.
Why not?
you would do it as part of the board meeting. You don't have to come in another night. It's just closed session as part of your board meeting.
Well, what I'm saying is, let's say that you can't get the board president to agree to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you're left to, utilization of the bylaws and the proper procedure.
Right.
So then the appropriate measure would be to follow the bylaws.
Okay, so you followed the bylaws, called the meeting. What happened?
Oh, I'm
don't
just
know, like-
following procedure.
Okay.
Procedurally, that's what we do.
Right.
Okay.
That's your policy, that's your procedure right now.
Thank you.
Right? But again, if you're going for a special meeting, it's gotta be posted for what the meeting's for. You can't just have a special meeting, just do another business meeting. It's, there's rationale and postings and all that. But again, if we wanna do something for his evaluation, we have to notify him, and we have to ask for him, his choice in or out. Now, what happens if he doesn't show? You can't have a closed session if he's not here. So again, part of it is you guys building the trust, so you get out of those situations where it's us versus them, or this side versus that side, or what we need to be doing is collaboratively, and when you build trust as a team, it's not gonna be an issue, because he's gonna say, well, I'm fine, you wanna go and talk, let's go talk.
You see, you can't have a closed session if he or she, a superintendent, didn't show up. As a board, you couldn't have your closed session?
No, you can't go into closed session without,
Evaluation.
you can't go in for a student hearing without the student being there.
Yeah,
You
no,
have-
but what I'm saying is, he's talking about closed session as it pertains to the
But I'm saying,
superintendent.
you can't go into closed session for any of this stuff without
Right.
specific measurements. And for, this is periodic personnel, the employee has the right, if they're not there, you can't go into closed session. If you have a student expulsion hearing and the student's not there, you can't go into closed session, you skip the whole genre of the evidence, you go right to the jury.
So if there's a closed session about a principal, a teacher, a custodian, a bus driver,
Mhm.
that you're gonna talk about something, they have to be there, or you can't talk about it?
Mhm.
Really?
They have a right. You can't go into closed session. Now, I'm not an
Unless it's a
attorney.
legal opinion, unless it's a legal opinion
If
relative
it's a
to.
written legal opinion,
Then it's,
but even then, you still gotta be careful, because Scott's gonna go back to the attorneys and make sure that you're not violating any master contracts, because by us doing that, and we've seen it all over Michigan where you do it, you have that closed session, you go to separate, and then the attorneys start knocking on the door, and 5 years later, you're paying them all back and paying all the legal fees because we stepped out of line and did something we probably shouldn't have done. And again, it's not always the letter of the law, it's the spirit of the law and the impact, what's the public opinion piece of the, so again, be careful going into closed session. MASB through our training says, look, he has the right for closed session, and my personal feeling is if you ask him to step out or not come in, one, you shouldn't be in there, but two, if you do that, you've just signed his death warrant. Because you've just told the whole community, we're no longer talking to him. That we need to talk without him, which is a clear indication we're going a different way. My feeling is if you can't tell it to that man's face, the 7 of you and him in a room with the door closed and only the 8 of you sitting there, if you can't say it to him, and he can't say it to you guys, you gotta rethink what's the board's function. Because we should have that open enough communication that if it's broken, we don't like it, we should be able to go in the room as 8 people, close the door, put the paper on the door, and have that discussion. It's only fair to him and his career, it's only fair to you guys, and it's only fair to that community out there that put you guys in this room. Alright? That's why we say you can't go into closed session. It's best practices, there's a lot of, none of it's good when you do it without the superintendent. And I've been there, I've been in those meetings with districts where he's not there, superintendent calls, are they firing me? Well, probably about 10 minutes, kind of thing, because that's what that's a clear message. But what you want to do is you want to get into a point where it's a regular, quarterly, so it's just what we do. And that way, if it's just scheduled as part of the regular meeting, you go into closed session, periodic personnel evaluation, boom, 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 10, 15 minutes, we're having those discussions. We're not talking about the whole breadth of the evaluation. We're talking about anything that's jumped off in that last quarter. So if we had an issue, we'd bring it up. And anything that we haven't seen anything, we're gonna ask them for reports ahead of time. Give us an update on the budget cycle. Or where are we at on, the goal on retention of staff? Can you give us an update on that? so that he knows what you're looking for versus going in that room, we fire 10 questions at him, he's like, I'll get back to you. And then we all get frustrated because we don't have the information we have. So we want to put a process that actually solves a lot of that stuff, okay? But board procedures helps us, policies helps us, bylaws. Board procedures is taking the bylaws and spelling them out. Superintendent Bell's, the policy should be, we evaluate on an annual basis, we're done. The policy, the procedure manual is where this tool would reside, the calendar, what's the process, consensus, it's all in that document. Okay? So, let's go down 3. Personnel matters are handled with consistency, fairness, discretion, and impartiality.
In looking through this whole section, it's really difficult. There's nothing that speaks to building trust or integrity. It is broken down more in the what. And I would say in personnel matters, I do think there's a concern there.
Mm-hmm. Which is why we put those 3 things at the top, so that when he's focused, when we're saying even that word integrity or trust, if that's what you're saying, hey, this is something we gotta be focused on, he understands it, so when he's doing this whole thing, he's looking for those opportunities to build the trust, to show transparency and integrity. It may not tie to one of these, it'll tie to his overall kind of thing, which is what those 3 things are kind of overall.
Right.
When we score, the devil's in the details. That's what we're looking here when we actually evaluate them. But again, if we have those discussions all year long, he should be doing well on these, which means we can then translate that data to our tool. If we've done our job, asked the right questions, had those discussions, good and bad, happy and not so happy, we should be seeing that evidence all year long so that it transfers right over to the broker. Because it's really about showing me the evidence. Don't tell me what you did, show it to me. Well, we're gonna do it in bite sizes, each quarter. We're not gonna get a data dump in November. Here's 6-inch reading binder, go read it. You got 3 days to read it before we come in. No, we want some in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. So when we get to the end of the year, it's just 1 quarter's worth of data.
So,
Yes, sir.
so what you're saying is, well, quarters, right?
Mhm.
So it's important that we do this quarterly,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that we're consistently
That's
following.
That's how we train you.
Okay.
That's
And
the
then,
expectation.
and then the other piece is that, how does he show us evidence of this?
Well, that, once we prioritize, then some of this is evidence. If there's something specific you're looking for, that's part of this discussion, and it's part of the discussion all year long of things that you're looking for, and you're gonna see evidence through the year. And what I'm gonna ask Scott is when he sends like a weekly update and it touches one of these 5 domains, just put domain A behind it. You don't have to tie it to one of the actual markers, but just put what domain. Because now it's like, oh, domain 5, okay, or domain E. Okay, let me make a note on domain E that we saw it, because you're gonna have this all year. You're gonna write notes in it all year of things you see. You can check off boxes as you see things. So you're gonna see it all year. We've seen it, you've seen a lot of the data. We just haven't been able to synthesize it into tying it back here. So that's why we're gonna ask the superintendent to help us a little bit along the way and say, hey, this is part of it.
And I would say, just as it pertains, to Scott, that, my evidence is kind of the, don't hear anything, so there's no bad news type thing.
Right.
I don't hear anything, that this is an issue. And from conversations that I have with him, that I hear that he's doing his best to build trust.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's not an issue, but I was just looking for a more definitive way to gauge that. as you're
Some of
saying.
these things
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
Some of these are not touchy-feely. Trust, that is, that's a touchy-feely. It's really hard to, put it on a piece of paper. But, is he answering questions? Yeah, we get those questions, all 7 of us getting it. Is it detailed? Is it answering the actual question? One ask, we all get. So here's the question, and we get a half a loaf, then that's when you're gonna talk at that quarter and say, hey, remember when you gave us this? Didn't quite grasp what, either we missed the mark on our question, like you shared, or you missed the mark in responding back to us. but let's talk about it, not let it fester all year. If we're frustrated, have the conversation so he can fix it. See, what's really nice is you're role modeling what you want him and his staff to do to the rest of your staff. If it's a problem, fix it today. Don't let it fester, don't let it go to the end of the year, do it today. And then expect corrective actions to happen. So if you told them, let's say you have a meeting this month, in March, and you say, hey, we're hearing you're not in buildings very much. What's your plan in the next quarter to get to buildings? So he comes back in say June,
Yeah.
and says, okay, here's what I did. You specifically called it out, so I want to give you a quick rundown. I met with this group here, and I went to this group and that group. So you said you found some, he's bringing the evidence to you. So that's part of why we get these high priorities, because these are the ones for sure you're going to see evidence on. Because we've just said, Scott, these are the high priorities. That's why we do this. So these, you'll get more evidence and artifacts than something that we say is a C. You keep chugging along. We're happy. Don't change what you're doing, because we need you to spend your capital over here. And so that's the best part about it, is we're helping guide that discussion. Instead of just reacting to it, we're getting in front of it and helping guide what do we need as a board. That's why you have that quarterly touch base. So if we're not seeing something, or we don't think it's going the way we thought it was, then change it as a group. You can refocus.
Now,
Well,
I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
what about?
Is that something, so when we meet quarterly, I mean, we need to meet with him, all 7 of us, you know, not
It's
2 of
closed
us or
session.
3 of us, I mean,
Yeah.
we need as a group 7 go in and say,
Part of your
hey,
board
this,
meeting.
right, afterwards, a closed session.
It's part of your board meeting.
Right, okay.
It's part of your board meeting.
Right.
It's an actual official part of your board meeting. Closed session for periodic personnel evaluation. That's one of the 8 criteria to go out on, and you actually go in.
Mhm.
Okay?
Because the board speaks through the board,
Board.
the majority through the 7, not just through.
So when we're giving him feedback on his job,
Right,
it's gotta come from all 7 of us.
exactly,
Because the feedback's gotta be ultimately, are we all in agreement this is what we want?
right.
You know, kind of thing, so he's clear. Because if you say apples, you say oranges, you say grapes, you say cherries, raspberries, strawberries, what's he supposed to do? You know, he, maybe only the red fruit,
Fruit salad.
fruit salad, but maybe, you know, we joke,
No,
Then
we want to
that's
put
not less.
we want you to put a bushel of apples on the table. That's all we told him. So he comes in with a bag of apples. We go, well, wait a minute, I like red apples. But I like golden, or I like green. I want sweet, I want tart. We didn't tell him that. See, that's what this part of this discussion is we have to say, if we want a bushel of apples, we gotta tell them what we want. You know, if you're saying you want better communication, we have to share what we're looking, don't just say better communication, that's just a kind of throw it against the wall and see where it sticks. But if you say, hey, here's where we're falling down, our email communication, our answers to questions, here's some of the things that we see that are shortcoming, now he can fix it. But we have to be clear what we want. So once we finalize this, we'll show you we'll remind you what that process looks like, and I think it'll all come together. Okay? So personnel matters. Sorry, yeah.
No, it's delegation
Oh,
duties.
I skipped a section here, sorry. Didn't I?
No, you did. You're on C.
No, I just looked,
You're
I
on
moved back.
C4 right now.
I was, yeah, but I was on E. I'm trying to get stuff. No. Personnel matters are handled with consistency, fairness, discretion, and impartiality. Again, how would you know?
People tell you otherwise.
Yeah, there's even an easier way, it's called a grievance. If he's not being fair, equitable, responsible, you're gonna start seeing a ramp up of grievances really quick.
And lawsuits.
And lawsuits, and heavy losses, you know, those kind of things. So again, there's some built in. Now, again, I think the message, I think you're all saying is we've gotta do something with our staff to improve the morale, the culture, the trust, the respect of our staff. I think that's the clear message that I'm feeling from you guys for Scott. So it's not any one of these things in the staff, it's more kind of that we gotta fix a lot of hurt feelings. There's a lot of deep cuts, and so we gotta go back and look at fixing those. Am I off the mark here? Or is that kind of what you guys are looking at? Am I summing it up? Okay? Okay. Delegation of duties, delegates responsibility to staff within their abilities, provides support to ensure their success. This one's a hard one for a new superintendent. Partly because he's still trying to figure out who's got what abilities. When it says working to their, within their abilities, I think he's still trying to figure out what does that look like. So again, this is one of those, as you're doing this, Scott, we want you to start thinking about what can you get off your table so you can work on these 8 priorities for us. What can you delegate? Part of that delegation is future training. Where's the next building administrator coming from? Where's the next curriculum director coming from? Where's the next superintendent coming from? We should be building capacity. You're a big enough district. You should be building capacity. The superintendent's got to delegate that out so others get that extra training, that extra knowledge, that experience. But I don't think this is a priority right now for a first-year superintendent. I've just seen enough of it that it's like he's still trying to just figure out where the paper is and who does what and who, building trust. They got to trust him and he's got to trust them. So, okay. Look at D5 and D1. Budgets. Actions are proactive and consider the most current information and data, balance is sought to meet the needs of students and remain fiscally responsible to the community.
I think this is something that's, relatable to a lot of the different avenues if we're talking about, retention and our goals and things like that, because the budget is, where our resources are at. So I think us making sure that we're clear to Scott on where he should be going with the budget so that, like you said before, we don't walk into, approving budget, or approving a contract before, we're not a deer in headlights. We know what's going on, what these are the parameters we gave you, we were looking at this, and this is, where we're headed.
Think of the resources.
Right.
You've just told him where the resources need to go.
Right, and I think that's the key thing, is that we as a board are collectively on point where how the resources are being distributed, and that's long been a debate on our board for
But
years.
you just decided how it was going to be distributed. Because you just gave him the 3 marching orders. We want our kids, we want our staff, and we want academics to be improved. So
Right.
you can go to him and say, okay, show me in your budget, where are you allocating for staff retention? And he should be able to go in there and show you the programs and the dollars being assigned to do that. Or bringing our kids back. Where are the dollars? What's the programs? Because you've just given him a spending plan. Because that's what a budget is, a spending plan. You just prioritize the spending plan because you just gave him 3 things. So if he comes to you and he says, well, I think we need to do this, this, and this. So we're not buying a bus this year. We can't go off the deep end. Because we didn't say bus is a high priority. We said academics, staff, and students are high priority. Now, he may come to you and say, after we get those done, we still have this bucket over here, well, let's get a bus or 2 so that we keep that fleet going, because I gotta be fiscally responsible. But it's not gonna be the first line item to you. It'll be what's left at the end versus, academics, who comes to you and says, well, we need, professional development for our teachers on how do we implement better strategies for trauma-based instruction or all that. That's what we're looking for. Where's the money? What's the objectives? That's what you're going to see in the strategic plan. Where's that going? The strategic plan, you're going to be surprised, will be very similar to this. One, you're there. So you're going to hear the discussion, but ultimately, the strategic comes back to here. You have to approve it. It's yours. So ultimately, it comes back to you guys. By bringing all the stakeholders, if something goes off the rails, they can't just blame us. There's 50, 60 people in that room, all the different stakeholder groups. We all have a say in it. So if we miss the mark, that means the whole community, everybody missed the mark. And that's okay, it happens. But it's easier when it's all of us at the table making those decisions than the 7 of us in isolation.
And this kind of goes to an example of like resources and allocation. It's Julie and I have had an issue about a bond that we're moving forward with, and the allocation of those monies and what it's being spent on. Julie raised the issue about it I had in the past, that there was no collaboration at the table about that. And I think that that's kind of an example of where that I would see a shortfall.
Okay.
You know, if we're just being honest, because we're here, you know,
Mhm.
talking, it's a missed opportunity.
Right.
Where there was a shortfall in that, we were not part of the collaborative process.
Mhm.
Now, I get the fact that he brings us the recommendation, we give him the parameters, but we didn't even give him the parameters.
Right, well, if he didn't just come with a bond and a plan at the last second. He's gotta feel out the board long before that to even say we're gonna do it.
No, but it was.
Yes.
Right.
it was-
But did you put a committee together to kind of study it, or was it your
We brought
cabinet?
it to, the cabinet did, and some of their folks, and then we brought it to,
The board.
study session.
Okay.
What I would say on this whole topic, and I'm gonna ask you, John Paul, a pointed question. So we first learned about it in our one-on-ones in late September, early October.
Mhm.
And then we first saw the presentation where it talks about the early preschool in November.
Right.
So from November until now, when we had the previous presentation, or until the February meeting where we voted on it, did you, I know you had questions, did you make an appointment to go in and see Scott or
Yeah.
meet with Bill? And
Yeah.
talk through your questions
this-
about what,
Yeah.
no, I mean about specifically what you wanted to see in the bond versus what you saw in the bond?
But it's kind of contradictory to what we're talking about here, because he's
It's
just
not
told
John
us.
Paul's job to.
Yeah, it's
No, I know.
it's not
It's
the
right.
day-to-day.
I mean, you can
I
raise the
understand
issue,
you're not the
but.
day-to-day, but
We
you
voted on
come- Right, we
But we
voted.
voted on
Yeah.
it, we had 3
Once you-
meetings. We had 3 meetings.
Once you voted on it, but before that, there's an opportunity, if he had a concern.
But we have voted on
But you asked, let me say this, okay?
Yep.
So you asked if there was a committee formulated.
Mhm.
There was not. In November, we walked into this room
Mhm.
and we were presented with a $26 to $28 million building that we're gonna build,
Mhm.
right? So the board did not collectively have a committee or meet about that.
Mhm.
Then we met again to
Mhm.
make a determination in this room if we were gonna move forward. Well, actually, we had a board meeting
Right.
to approve the language, and there were still questions about it at that time.
Mhm.
Then we met again in this room and spoke for about a half hour about whether we were gonna actually put it on the ballot or not.
Right.
And it was a split vote, you know, it was a split decision on it,
Okay.
but majority won,
Mhm.
and then we actually voted on it. But
Mhm.
there was no committee formulation, and that's what I'm just saying, I'm gonna be honest, that was a shortcoming that I saw because it was about allocation of a
Mhm.
$150 million bond. Joan's question to me is that I approached Scott, I did,
Mhm.
but, you know, or did I go to Bill? Well, this is my one employee
I agree.
here.
No, but I know,
And
but he
the
would have
other-
asked you to
yeah.
talk to Bill.
Yeah, and, but the other portion of it is that the model that you're telling us, the smart thing would have, the right thing that we should have done has been, as a group collectively, talking about
Even
how that
after
allocation.
Scott brought it the first time and said, this is what we're looking, this is the recommendation we're coming to you, here's the need. I mean, I know that was all part of the, he had to have, you know, he's an educator, they come in prepared. Here's the need, and here's how we see we're gonna fix the need. Again, we have to be careful of, they're the professionals, they're working with the architects, even safety, we think we know safety, but they're working with architects who design these buildings to be ultra safe, whatever those issues are. But again, it's the board, again, if we have an issue, we have a board president, we raise, but again, with absence of procedures, so it takes all the personalities out of it. We have processes for that to happen, but you don't have a governance model, you don't have those in place. You're hurting yourself because you don't have those tools in place. That those kind of questions would at least been aired. It's still the board setting the tone, not a board member, but at least all the board members would be heard. It goes back to, you gotta put that governance model in place. You have to be committed. I'm gonna leave you with a goal, at least one goal for you guys tonight, is that by June 1, you will have a governance structure, right? So you got April and May. You don't have a choice, you have to. You're gonna fail. Your strategic plan is gonna fail, your bond's gonna fail. You're setting each other up for failure. If you don't have a governance model and you're just trying to do this at the board table, on a fly. Even if you do committee of the whole, where the 7 of you sit here once a month and talk about this stuff, and we can help you with that structure. You know, there's ways to do it so that we get the work done without, I'm a big one, that one could be a 90-minute study session, because you schedule it appropriately.
And then, in that instance, the proper procedure would be to request a special meeting, right, for our bylaws, if we were to seek more information for the collective board.
No, you don't even have to have a meeting.
We don't, let's say the technical way, if I couldn't get a meeting.
I don't know what your policies are.
Well, that's
See,
what our
you're going
policy.
back,
Our
But
policy
again,
does say-
I don't know all the policies and the nuances, but that's one of those things where, again, hey, Mr. President, I got this concern, is it something we can get more
Right.
additional information on? You know, and he can, a lot of times, they'll say, yeah, no problem, hey, Scott, can you get this, you know, we've got this, because it really doesn't matter who asks the question.
But that's kind of contradictory to what you're saying though, because then we're doing a one-on-one type thing.
No, because he's gonna ask Scott for the information, Scott's gonna send it to the whole board. If at that point it merits a discussion, you've now got the whole board thinking about it versus it being John Paul or
If it merits it.
Bob's. If it merits it, the whole board can then say, yeah, I think it does, I didn't think of that, we should talk about that.
Or we can say, we have talked about it.
Exactly,
And let
it's-
it be.
and let it be. But that way, everybody's had that opportunity. But again, we don't have the structure in place to do it yet.
And then my last thing is that, just one point I'll raise is that if we had met in January, we probably would have had more of an, if we had done this with you in January or December when it was supposed to be, we would have probably had.
Well,
more
we
of an
had a date,
understanding of the
you
bond.
guys decided to do a bond,
Right.
right? 'Cause
I mean,
that was coming over-
we
Yeah.
knew, I know it was November 1st when I found out at my
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, but I'm
But
saying,
it
I
was-
was scheduled to come over here 1st of February,
Right,
and you guys called and said, can we reschedule it, because
exactly.
you were gonna have a long meeting on what to do with bond, and didn't wanna have a crunch to
So
feel
we,
like
we own that, that's our fault on that, so. I
It's
would-
not a fault.
Well, I would say
It's
that
just the
we own it
situation
because we
happened.
didn't proceed with that meeting as we should have.
Well, can I
That's part of
just
the
say one
decision.
thing?
Please, jump in.
Okay, just,
Take me off the hook.
well,
You better get a cookie.
I struggle
Scott.
saying stuff sometimes at the public meeting.
Such one box.
But this was my entire issue with this, and then I'm gonna say it, and then I'm gonna be done with it, because like I told everybody that asked me, I'm gonna vote for it, we need it. My biggest issue with all of this was that he came in July 1st, okay? We find out the beginning of October that we're gonna go for this bond. All of a sudden, it has to be a rush, because we
Right.
can't get it in the primary in March. We knew our early childhood center has been not good, and we've been sinking money into it for a long time. Our money guy has been in his position for a long time. We knew the mills were expiring in July. Why were we not discussing this last year in April, May, June? Why is it all of a sudden, bam, we gotta go right now, let's spend $70,000? That was just my whole issue with it. I just didn't like it. It made me feel so uncomfortable.
So you had a
So
frustration with the
uncomfortable.
process.
Yes, the
Not-
process
not
made me
what
feel
it's
so
about,
uncomfortable.
But it's
No,
the process that
no,
really.
because we'll sit here
Yeah,
and
and
we'll
that's-
have governance over it, and I feel good, and I told
And
him,
you
I
all
said, I'm
agree
on the
the
board for
merit of
5
it
years, I'm gonna keep an eye
Is
on it.
needed.
Exactly,
It's the process.
100%. The process just made me sick to my
Right.
stomach.
And the process
whole
partly
process.
predates Scott.
Exactly, so.
So again, when
I-
you just said it's
you
our
know,
fault,
Mhm.
see, there's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. We, this 8-member leadership team, has to commit to doing it better.
Yeah.
You're about, you pass a bond, you're gonna have a lot of money. Community's gonna be watching you like a hawk,
Exactly.
Yeah.
because that's their money.
Right.
So you have to do it better, cleaner, more forthright. That's why you have these discussions like this in a comfortable setting like this, face to face, having the, get it aired out. If that's your concern, it's aired.
Now
Let's
it's
move forward.
done.
Now let's get the bond passed. If we get the bond passed, let's work together. Now, think about it. We don't have to pick paint colors, but you wanna say, make sure if we're doing this that, we don't cheap it. We're not putting carpet back in 2 years, so don't be stupid on us. Again, that's that parameters. You wanna say, hey, think about what we're doing, so we're not coming back. We don't wanna go back to the community again in 2 years and say, oh, by the way, we screwed up, and need another $5 million to finish the project.
We need a
And
roof.
that's just my thing was, I agree with Julie,
Yep.
not against the bond, I support it, and as a matter of fact, I've been invited to go to my kid's PTO and talk about it, but it was the process in which, and that does date Scott, so I will hold him accountable for that on this,
Right.
is that time from the October, November arena to we got to the point where we had the meetings, like you said, what did the bond committee think? There was no bond committee, it was cabinet.
So, but here's what but going forward now, you're putting things, see, even this discussion tonight, I think Scott's heard it clear. We're not gonna do this without putting some things, mechanisms in place to make sure you guys are involved and more than, he got sold a bag of, you know what, and trying to make it smell pretty. And so it stank for all of us. Now we gotta say, okay, we learned from it, but the message you have to be as a board, you have to be 7-0 now. The process is over, because if we keep saying, well, I voted no because of the process, then that's gonna call that into question. It's over and done with.
Right.
You voted on it, it's
gonna
passed, it's gonna happen. You have to be full-throated as a board for this bond, because you're the only ones that can. Superintendent, you can talk about it. Everybody else can only be factual. There's a lot of little nuances. You guys aren't unfeathered about it. So you can say, you have to be the biggest cheerleaders out there, going to the PTAs, going to the city, going to, the civic groups. You guys gotta be out there and trumpeting it, here's why. Not because we let it go for 10 years. It's because it's the right thing to do for that next generation of students who are gonna come through Waterford, because we know K3 is foundation for education. And if we don't have the right tools and the right capacity, we know, you know. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. So you can sell it, you have to sell it, say, hey, here's why we're doing it. Whether the process was flawed or we learned it, we won't do that again. We'll make sure there's a solid, rock solid process in the future to do it. We just didn't like this one, but now going forward. But you guys gotta put that governance model, so before, because I know you're watching your clock here. By June 1st, I wanna say all the heads nod, June 1st, you're gonna come to an agreement on committees or committee of the whole. So that in June, you're gonna be operational in one or the other. Agreed? That means everybody's gotta be having those discussions, talk about it, think about it, research the difference between them, what you want, so that you're ready to prepare, because it's gonna take all 7 of you to come to consensus, not a vote. Consensus, I can live with it. But you gotta take the next 8, 10 weeks to make it happen. You've gotta do it, to put it in place so that these kind of things don't keep happening. It's, we've always done it this way, and guess what? That doesn't mean it works. So let's fix it.
Keep that
And how many of you are up this year? Seats? 2?
3,
Maybe
the
3.
one that's not here.
The one's not here. So you think about it, you could have almost a majority if they choose not to run, or they put a whole team against you and put deep pocket. So again, you're setting up legacy. That's why I want you to put it in place, so that whoever the next set of board members are, some of you, all of you, you're starting to build a foundational legacy for those who come behind you. So remember, boards come and go, board members come and go, boards don't. Superintendents come and go, boards don't. The board is here. We're just the seat holder for, like the president. You get X amount of years to sit in that seat, and then somebody else is gonna do it. Hopefully they do it better and learn from our mistakes. But that's our job. But without a governance structure, and you guys are lacking it right now, you're gonna spin. And you're gonna what you're gonna really do is chaos. I'm just gonna beat my head against the wall, hope it changes. And is it fun for you to come in when it's like this? No, for any of us. You're getting paid, well, to do this, right? So we want it to at least feel good when we leave here that I'm not beating my head and I feel like I'm run down. It's like, why am I doing this? You're supposed to be getting something emotionally, passionately out of here, that you're making a difference for your community and your kids. And when you're not, so let's think about how do we make that change so that we start, again, you role model exactly what you want in your structure. If you guys are coming in and you're passionate and working professionally and responsibly and putting things in place, what do you tell the rest of them? Look at our board. They stepped up their game. It means everybody in this organization has to step up their game. This is just 7 community members who are passionate, right? Didn't take us anything but stupidity to run. I mean, if you think about it, there's no goodwill, there's no background, there's no now. 600 signatures, $100, live in the district. I mean, if you think about it, it's just 7 people who really care. But when 7 people who really care, that's how things change. You know the rule. One thing that's ever made change is a small group. Well, here it is. You can, how many students you got in this district? How many?
8,200.
8,200. Think about the impact you're having on the future of Oakland County, Metro Detroit, when you have 8,200 kids coming through here, it's what, 700, 800 staff members, I'm guessing? You're probably one of the bigger employers in the area.
We are.
Yeah. So, think about it, if you're not happy coming to a board meeting, why would they be happy coming in every day to the classroom? Culture starts right here. Culture can't be bought. Culture can't be given. It has to be lived. It has to be earned. It has to be shown. You guys have to do it. That's why we do this. Because we're setting the culture. You just set tonight. Looks like we got three priorities and 3 high priorities, 3 focuses. Once we finalize these, but you've just given him clear marching orders. So you should have high expectations going forward. You should see, every time we meet, you should see some evidence or discussion on these 6 things. Period.
But, go ahead, John.
I just,
Go ahead, Jen.
I just wanted to make sure that, so, we really do need to make the commitment, though, to make sure that we're meeting every 3 months,
Yep.
so that we are giving him the tools that he needs, the feedback that he needs, the direction that he needs to be successful.
Right. 2 weeks out from the board meeting, so let's say it's June 15th is your board meeting. June 1st, you ask any questions through your board president. You collect them, give them to Scott. 1 week out, Scott, you answer it. You don't have to give 1,000 things, answer their questions. Now we've got data because we've asked for what we want, what we need on our concerns, what we haven't seen data on. So it gives you guys the opportunity to frame that discussion, but not when we go into closed session, but ahead of time. So he's ready with data, good data to share with you. Now you go into closed session. Now you've got your questions, his answers, and us sitting together. Is this really what we thought it was? Or I'm concerned about this? Or, hey, Scott, you're doing a wonderful job. Keep doing it. We're happy. But that's what you need in the session. You're not going, hey, do you know about this? And you go, I don't know. I'll get back to you. Then you go, wow. No, if you've asked 2 weeks out, get our answers a week out, boom. Now we've got a framework for that discussion. Go into that discussion and have that discussion in there because, again, we've framed it on what we need around his rubric. Now we've set some priorities. You're saying, okay, I haven't seen anything on staff retention. You know, Scott, what are you doing about staff retention? That's your question. You don't have to say, it could be that quick and simple. Scott, we haven't seen anything in staff retention. Can you give us an update? Well, you're right. It's first quarter, and I really have it scheduled to start midway through second quarter into third quarter. But here's what we've got on the plate. Now we're like, okay, I see that now. Or I don't like it because we thought it was a high priority. Why are we giving up another 90 days? But we have data, then you have the discussion. Instead of a gut feeling or a hearsay, you're walking in there with data. Because he's giving it to you. If it's wrong, we go right back to our rubric and say, wait, ethics, responsibility, information's accurate. If it's not, we know it's not, we have the ultimate tool. It's right here at the end of the year. What's nice though is through the year, if it's getting off kilter, we get to put it back on so we don't get to the end of the year and get a surprise. See, if it happens now between now and June, because you're going to schedule your first touch base in June, we talk about it in June. If it happens between June and August, we talk about it in August. If it happens between August and our evaluation, we talk about it. We don't let it cross the path and go on forever. So if we're frustrated, there's an opportunity. If you think about it, because we're talking about him with him, 5149, it's an opportunity. If we're frustrated, good opportunity for us to kind of say, hey, you know, can you help us with it? But it's a chance for you guys to also have some discussions utilizing this tool for those discussions. So really, it's a chance for all of us to re-gear, re-gauge on where we're at as a team to be successful. Here and here and then over here. Did you ever hear that before?
I did.
Go ahead. I'll start here and then I'll go back over there.
Well, I wish John Paul was here for this question because I think it's incumbent upon the entire board. When we set priorities, these are the things that, that's why it's really important that we all agree that these are our priorities. But once we do that, we have to be really careful not to put Scott in the position of whack-a-mole, that every day, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and that he has to be able to work on vision and the strategic priorities and not get bogged down trying to respond to all kinds of little, I'm not saying you can't respond to crisis, I'm not saying you can't respond to emails, all of those things. I'm just saying it shouldn't be every board member giving him direction, you need to do this, you need to send this out, you need to do that. Like, that's just so counterproductive to what he needs to
Who
be
gives
doing.
direction to the superintendent?
The board.
Board as a whole,
Yep.
right?
And so we
One,
gotta,
not two, not three.
it's the board.
Right.
And it's really the board sitting here like this, closed
Right.
session, we're talking about his evaluation. Because in your evaluation, you're saying, continue to do more of, do less of.
Right.
So you're framing it, so the board is saying, yeah, we like the job you're doing, keep doing what you're doing. We're not so happy about this staff retention thing, you need to ramp that bad boy up, because we're not happy. But we're framing it so it's crystal clear to everybody, we've just given him marching orders.
Right.
Continue to do more of, do less of, so it's clear to everybody. But you're right, you can't be,
How does
it's
he,
the
how
need
does,
to knows versus want to knows.
how does he direct someone that says, I want you to do this?
He sends it back there.
Okay.
That's what the board president's for. He should, that needs to be focused back to the board president. We talked some this weekend, and I'm available to help through this process. But the idea is, you as a group have to agree, that's what we're gonna do. And anybody who goes off the beaten path like that, we all have, you're basically giving Scott the ability to say, you know what, I hear you, I appreciate it, can you run it through the board president, please? That's our process now, that's what we're agreeing to kind of do, to get that knucklehead stuff off the plate. It's the wanna knows, and when I tell you guys, write a $250 check. You wanna know? Write a check. Cause he's gonna take time out of his day, cause he's not gonna say no. He
That's
works
the
for us.
hard part. For him, when you said that, I was gonna say, he's talking to one of his 7 bosses and saying, I'm not gonna do this, go
But that's
away.
what we got
But-
to as a board.
I know, but as a
Exactly.
board, you.
And that's what I'm saying, it's hard though for him
Sure.
or her to say,
Yep.
you know.
But again, that's why we have a board president. He should be having that weekly conversation, and you should be able to call, even if that board member says, okay, you don't tell him, call your board president and say, hey, these want to knows are getting off the reservation again. And I tell board, write a $250 check to the district, because there's some time that he's not gonna do something for you, because he's chasing this, and there's a cost to the district. So is it a need to know or a want to know? Need to knows, the board should be telling them. We have to have these, for us to make good decisions. Want to know? That's just because you want to be in the weeds, you want to know every little nuance.
And I appreciate bringing this up, because just today, I think I had 3 or 4 parent issues that, very quickly rose to my level. They're very important, 3 of the 4 are very important, and so I had to get involved. But I think what I'm doing is trying to set up systems of who can, what's the order on who's gonna be addressing this? Because right now, I feel that as the new superintendent, when people email me, they wanna hear from me, so I do the best I can to respond. And these were, 3 of them were pretty touchy issues. One of them had to do with image, one of them had to do about a student leaving the district, so this is tough stuff
Yep.
that we're
Stuff
working
that we're
on.
talking about.
Yeah, and so getting those systems set up and with the team and how we're gonna function, that is one of the things that we continue to work on. I want to ask a question about, so I think we've got a little bit of the committee of the whole work going when we have board study sessions. Is that the feeling here, that we've got
That's what
some
I'm
of that
looking for.
happening? But I think what we could probably do better is if the board works through Mike and they have issues that they would like us to discuss, and then we kind of space that out. One, the board study session, June or January 30th went too long. But those are things that really, it's invaluable for me as a superintendent and the team to hear and to see us discuss
Yep.
those things.
That's what's nice about it, but what you guys do is, once you say, hey, can we have a discussion on this, you need to put, who's the board secretary first off? Who's the elected secretary? Huh?
Heather, who's
Heather.
not here. Yeah.
So who is filling in for Heather while she's off right now? You need to kind of
Right.
designate an acting secretary for that.
Secretary Patricia.
Yeah, attrition. But what you're doing at that committee of the whole is, let's say you have, I don't know, paint colors for the new building. And you set 10 minutes aside for it. At 10 minutes, the secretary says, you got 1 more minute on this topic.
I want to be secretary.
We'd be really
Because-
good at
Well,
it.
you have
Because-
people coming to the board
because-
meetings and giving you hell for not
Because
letting
you
them
think, but you
finish.
think about it, for the committee of the whole session, what I try to get you to do is look at a 90-minute window. You got 80 minutes of business, and 10 minutes of the roll calls, public comment, and that's
So this is the I see Mike writing this down, this is the model you're suggesting, 90 minutes.
I use it in a lot of boards.
Okay.
Because what you do is, instead of, what happens is if we put the paint colors first, when we get into this 90-minute discussion,
We don't get to
your
all of this
idea
stuff.
doesn't get to, now you're mad.
Right.
And now, we'll put it on the next one, but you have an idea that you think's even more important, but you've gotta go behind her because she's already been pushed back. But if I gave you 10 minutes for yours, because that was, you know, and if you say, hey, can we have a discussion on this, and I think 10, 15 minutes is good, tell them, 15 minutes. I only need 10, I need 8. Now you're building that schedule to get to that 80 minutes of business. 90 minutes is a functioning meeting. Adult learners can only function 60 to 90 minutes before we start getting off the reservation, looking at clocks and getting frustrated. But if you control the dialogue, what it does is it doesn't let that fluff stuff get in there. If I only got 10 minutes for mine and I want this information, and somebody goes, well, what about this? Nope, not part of this discussion. And it takes all of you to say, no, that's not, we need to stay focused. This is what we're focused on, let's focus on it, then focus on the next thing. But by having that work that way, if they need more time, if there's time at the end of the meeting, or it goes on the next work study session, it comes around. So part of it is you guys gotta triage it, because if you see it coming up on a future action item, you gotta make sure you give it enough time to get through that discussion so that you can vote on it in the next meeting. But if it's something you're just having an open discussion on for future reference kind of thing, that's when you can, you know, split it up in a couple of chunks. But that 90 minutes, when I worked with boards and they put it in place, they were like, because you know it's respectful. You start on time, you end on time. You guys are busy people. If you started at 7 and you knew it at 8:30 you were gonna done, you can put everything in, because I only gotta do it for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna respect everybody. I'm gonna be committed. I'm not scheduling anything against my meeting. I'm not gonna have to run off, because I know I only gotta be there 90 minutes. But I gotta be all in for that 90 minutes. I gotta be 100% focused on what we're gonna do. And the boards who've done it that I work with have great success because they keep on task.
I don't want to assume that everyone here knows the sort of in and outs of committee as a whole. Could you explain then what the other half of our work would be that month?
Ask that too.
The other, so
The sort of study session versus what happens at the other meeting where you vote.
okay, you have a business meeting, that's where all the action happens. Okay, that's where you do your finances, all that kind of stuff. That is the business meeting. Usually a study
Action
session.
items, all your action
Action
items.
items, right. Usually what a study session is just that, it's a study. Usually no action or minimum action, sometimes it's like tonight, you know, approve the agenda, or maybe it's minutes. What you don't want to do is throw in a student hearing. You want to stay, this is, you know, you need a student hearing, but you're in time crunch, call a special meeting. Get 4 members there having a meeting, but don't do it as part of this. So this is really.
That would be, that seems silly. Again, if I have a meeting, it'd be silly to get 4 people together when I can throw in a student. We got the hearing,
Well-
all we do for a hearing for us, all we do is vote on it.
He probably doesn't know, we say student A
Right, we just vote on
reinstated
it.
with,
There is
Okay.
you
no,
know, that's.
You're not
that's-
having a hearing?
We have.
we've already had it with 2 members.
With
The
two
board
members,
delegates,
the
the
board
board delegates the
power.
power to the administration
Yeah, right.
to.
That smile, I'm not sure where you're thinking.
Uh-oh.
How do you vote, how can you vote with 2 people?
You don't vote it
No
down.
voting, it's
We bring a recommendation to the full board to vote.
But the recommendation that you're referring to is for the reinstatement. I think what you're referring to is the.
The actual,
expulsion
the first, before we get to
It's
reinstatement.
our, in our board bylaw, in our board policies, that the
Mhm.
board delegates the authority to hold those hearings with a certain administrator that holds a hearing with a specific group. They do the expulsions and reinstatements come to the board, where it's a committee that consists of 2 board members per state law that recommends them to the Board of Education for
Okay.
the reinstatement, and the board takes action.
So again, my
Because
thing is just, that
think about
we're
it.
just
Who's-
voting on it. I want to put that on a
Who's,
regular board meeting.
right, and I understand that, but what, my question is who's actually putting the student out at that point?
Who's actually doing what?
Who's actually making the vote to put the student out? Does it
Or
come to the whole, what?
No,
No.
for expulsion, the board is not involved one bit,
The recommendation.
not for expulsion.
No, that's for
We don't put
reinstatement.
up-
Reinstate for
I'm talking
expulsion,
expulsion.
the board has
Yeah.
never been involved in
I
my
always
10 years.
wondered about
Yeah.
I think you
I
need to
asked
do some
Keith about
checking.
that.
Because my understanding, again, I'm not an attorney, but you're the legal entity. To be expelled from a school district, it's gotta be the board who expels it. Now, if they go to the superintendent level and do not come to the board, then it's, you don't go in closed session, you don't have a hearing, you just make the vote and go. Good superintendents will make sure most of them don't get to us. Hey, don't go to this board, they're gonna vote, put you out, it's a mandatory 180 days, but if you start today, waive your hearing, we'll start the clock today, your 180 starts today, and we'll be more apt to give you services. You keep fighting it, human nature says, no, but board is ultimately the responsible party. So you need to do some checking for the future. I'm not an attorney, but every board I've ever worked with, it's always come to the board as a student hearing. And it's weird because it's opposite of our court system. You go into closed session to hear all the evidence, you come out in public and do the vote, which is exactly the opposite of the
But you
criminal
don't
courts.
call them by name.
Never.
Not in public, in
In
closed
student
session.
you can.
Right, and they can be in there. at
They
that.
have to be in
Right,
there.
they have to be in there.
Because they're the ones,
Right.
both sides have to be in the room. Whoever's making the recommendation, so if it's, let's say, a high school student, the high school administrator would be the one probably making the presentation on behalf of the district. The parent was there making their side, and you're listening to it, any clarifying questions, then you're coming back in public to make your decision. See, most districts do the opposite of what you guys are doing. The reinstatement doesn't come to us. The expulsion does. Reinstatement, we just tell them the criteria. They are responsible to make sure the criteria is met. When you're doing the expulsion, you gotta do this, you know, usually they'll put a list together of things they gotta do to be reinstated. If they meet that list, they're reinstated. If they don't check all those boxes off, they're not reinstated.
With
So
our
we're not in
reinstatement, though, we have different criteria per case.
Yeah.
So there's no, I don't know how we would give the superintendent criteria, because every student that comes for reinstatement, some might have no,
But if you
rules, some
told,
might have,
but if you told them at time of expulsion what the rules are,
I don't know, I've never been involved in an expulsion.
see, if you're
Yes,
giving them the
tell them.
rules,
Well, you do
It's
it, you
part
get
of the
back.
expulsion, because I've
Exactly.
seen it when we
So,
do the reinstatement.
we've already, as part of the expulsion, you've already set the criteria. Give it to the high school principal or somebody else and they go, check it off. If there's no check, they don't get reinstated. If they meet all the criteria that you guys have established, they're back in.
But-
Most boards don't.
Is it,
But-
I was just gonna say, isn't it state law, though, that 2 board members have to be part of
Reinstatement.
the reinstatement?
2 board members, administrator.
A parent of the district?
It's interesting, because we've never seen it that way.
I just looked.
So that's
at
why you
the
gotta
large
do some-
district, the school
Huh?
district
Do you
can
deal with
have their
large
own
districts?
policy, yeah.
Districts, or is it?
Novi?
Again, maybe that's a
Nobody
thing,
does-
that we've always done
I mean,
it
I wanna
that
look
way.
at
I
our
can't tell you what
policy.
happened
Yeah,
this year,
strict on
but
the state of Michigan.
we're not gonna get into,
The locals can-
all I'm gonna challenge you is to do some checking.
We are gonna check.
Because that's a concern, because I just know that there is a lot of criteria, because one of the things is you gotta protect your identity, so if your meeting's in here, you can't have them sitting over there and then ask everybody to leave while they're sitting here, because now we've outed them, and we gotta think about all that stuff, but again, that's where procedures get put in place,
We have that procedures for that.
but you
And
need,
I like the way we do it, because again, I like to see the student when they come back, you get a feel, it's,
I'm not arguing
Okay.
that, what I'm saying is, let's make sure that we're doing it in the proper sequence.
you know, because Megan takes care of it, Megan does everything right.
Believe it.
I don't do expulsion.
Yeah, we just wanna make sure, again, now, you know, because it's just like you guys hire, but do you really hire? Who does the hiring in your
I think
district?
we kind of do.
No,
The
the superintendent does, all we do is say yes.
Because you're the legal entity.
Right, we just
Right.
say yes.
Same kind of thing here, we're the legal entity, we're the ones that have to actually put the student out, is my, again, my experience and my understanding. Again, I'm not an attorney, so I don't wanna, don't be calling Brad tomorrow and Scott said.
I'm actually gonna text him right now.
Yeah.
You're gonna be on Facebook.
All
tomorrow,
I'm
so,
saying,
yeah.
I'm just saying, do some checking, make sure. If your attorneys or our attorneys say you're fine, God bless you, but that's one of those you wanna stand on the right side. Because the worst part is if you did it, and if you find out you're wrong, then that student can get put back in.
You're live, you're gonna be live tomorrow on Facebook. Okay.
Won't be the first time, won't be the last time. Facebook, I'm not an attorney. So,
Yes, take one.
Just, we've had a little bit of dialogue about committee of the whole, and I think there's always been interest on having more opportunity for us to have meaningful dialogue about the things that are happening, because it's really hard to do that in the formal setting that is our board meetings. Am I correct in saying that most districts do not have two business meetings exactly the same? I mean, they're essentially the same agenda structure, even though we have one special, one in interim.
One business meeting, one study session.
That's,
Because
I
that-
found that when I went to the last
Yeah.
MSB
And
conference.
usually,
Yeah, 'cause I looked at a couple
and
of
usually,
select few
and usually they
districts
push
do
the
too.
business meeting back
Yeah.
to the second meeting of the month, because then finances are done, you're not pushing to get all that done. So
And you're doing a lot of it by, what is it, where,
Consensus.
consensus anyway.
consent vote or
Yeah,
whatever it's
consent
called.
votes, consent
Yeah.
agenda, so it's
Consent
all
agenda,
rolled.
yeah.
You're not voting on each item,
Right.
you're
Right, you
done
just
in
move
and out.
and,
But yes, they do two meetings, business meetings one, study session is the other.
And study
So-
session is, you're using that interchangeably with
Committee
committee of the
of the
whole, right? I just wanted to make sure,
The
because
cow.
I
And
know
it's
these are
still
new
a
terms
legal
for
meeting.
people and.
still legal meeting, but
everything-
we're not taking action.
Right.
Well, but we
Everything
need to give
you
ourselves,
can,
we
but
need to
you
give
try-
ourselves, because every once in a while, something will come up.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
We need to give
can.
ourselves
You have to
flexibility to
say
say,
no.
but for the most
But
part, exactly,
The rule is, we try to say we can do an action there.
absolutely.
You're doing discussion.
Reason to change from what we're doing now is what?
Well, I think by changing to a committee of the whole structure, you're gonna start building trust as a committee,
I
as a
don't think
board.
so.
Well, I think because all seven of you are gonna be sitting together, hearing the same thing at the same time, versus the dribs and drabs, or subcommittee where there's three of you getting it, and the rest have to trust that you're asking the right questions and pushing it
But
forward.
again, I can be at the same meeting and people hear things differently
Sure.
than I do. So I mean, that's not guaranteed. There's
I'm
still
not
that-
saying guaranteed, but at that point, you
The chance
can
for
say,
better.
hey, wait a minute, Scott, do you remember, we talked about this, so I don't remember it that, but you have to have that kind of open dialogue, that if you're all hearing it at the same time, whether I hear it the same way or not, we're all saying, well, wait a minute, that's not what was
Yeah,
said.
for the
Yeah.
superintendent, when we're at committee of the whole, I get a sense of where everyone's at, and I have to take my direction from all seven of you. And so, the individual meetings are good for information, but a committee of the whole would be very beneficial.
Especially
there's no
70%
question
of
about
communication that's nonverbal.
it.
You
Absolutely.
might not saying anything, but he can sure tell where you're at, and it's like, oh.
But yeah, we've had meetings where we've done that,
Yeah.
and then the next day it's changed. We go into closed session and within hours.
Well, I think part of it is, goes back to the governance, I think part of it is, you guys, as part of that governance discussion, have to come to an agreement that this is how we're gonna function, this is how we're gonna work together, because again, when you see the results from this survey, I'll put $20 on the table that you're gonna show up in that survey and not usually in the good side.
We already knew that. We knew that going in. That's
knew
not
that from
us.
our
But how do we, you have to role model the expectation, don't tell me what you're gonna do, show me. So when the board's working collaboratively, you can disagree. I have no problem, I enjoy when John Paul was challenging me, I have no problem with that. It's, as long as you're doing it in a professional, respectful way, and when the
That's right.
discussion's done, we all own it at that point. It's over, it's done with, and we move on. We don't keep regurgitating because we didn't like what was said or done. But you guys have to set some of those parameters. What I would do is at that first committee of the whole, one of the first items on that agenda is, I would have a discussion about what's our parameter, what's our team rules.
Yeah.
What's, set those rules as a group. That we're gonna be respectful, that we're gonna, and then you gotta hold each other accountable. Say, wait a minute, that's not what we agreed to. We all said we were gonna work towards this, and that wasn't real respectful.
And we can have penalties in that then?
Well,
We can
don't-
censure people?
You can censor people, you can take their committee works or their officers' positions away. I used to laugh though, because when they said that, I should have thought of that ahead of time, because if you get censored, it means I don't have to go to any other committee meetings. I don't have to be an officer, I can just sit as a trustee down there at the table and do nothing but come to
Recap
a
it.
business meeting.
Yeah.
I screwed up,
Yep.
because there's no real
That's
penalty.
what I'm saying, because again, when you talk about, the give and take, and if there's no take, it's harder to.
But when the majority of the board continues to do it and role models of professionalism, those who are howling at the moon just get smaller and smaller and inconsequential, because people are gonna start to see them for what they are. because you got 6 of you working well, you're talking, we're having dialogue, we don't have to agree with each other. I think you're wrong. That's okay. But I don't call you a blooming idiot, you know,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes,
But
yes.
when we're having those
What
discussions,
if they are?
but when they're, but well,
Then we don't say it.
we don't, but if you have one that continues to just bark, but part of it is you have to role model the expectation and make sure we don't have a bully and all that. Megan's looking real quick.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I got the revised school code, I just wanted to give him make sure he's confident in the fact that the revised school code does say that you can delegate to
Okay.
administration, and
Good.
it does say that you have to have 2 board members be a part of the reinstatement.
Interesting.
Take that, Facebook.
Love technology. But again, you have to set the model with the board president. And when somebody's stepping off and say, well, let's take a break, we think this is getting out of hand, let's rethink this. Or if somebody continues to talk, hey, let's get everybody
Get
else in this
someone else to
conversation.
right.
You have to make sure, you know, that everybody's got that opportunity to have that safe space to participate in the conversation, including your superintendent.
So if someone says, I didn't get this information, in the board president can come back and say, hey, we got it on this day, this day, this day, we don't need a special meeting because we have all this. And it fixes it.
It's
You're
not
all-
always that simple.
Well, it's, Mike's fixing it, I'm not feeling good about it.
But the idea is,
Come
you're all,
on.
but you're all hearing it at the same time, and that's the first step in building the trust, because there's no, he knows more, even though it may not be true, it's that perception that I'm not, you know, I'm in this side of the fence, so I'm not getting as much because, you know, I'm the outlier, and so they're not giving me all that. See, no, because we're all sitting at the same table, we're all hearing the same thing from the superintendent or whoever he brings in to present. We're all talking together, so we're all hearing each other. So, yeah, we may take it differently, but ultimately, we all heard the same message. They can't say, well, Scott knew more than me because he, you know, Scott was talking to Scott, you know, kind of thing. No, because Scott talked to all 7 of us in the room. There's no other meetings going on. The only other meeting is the board president superintendent meeting to set the agendas. Other than that, they're not having a lot of informational stuff.
Yeah,
So
and I
then
think
we don't
Allison
have
says that, you said it.
Individual meetings?
You can periodically, but I
Okay,
don't
but
think you
not
need to have.
monthly?
See, I've
And we're
never
not
been a
gonna
fan
round
of
up our
monthly
posse and go
meetings
talk to
individually, and
them.
that's nothing against, just because I remember Rob used to always say with John Silveri, he hated one-on-one meetings, because he'd always say, there might be things that my colleagues think of that I don't, that I want to hear
And
from my
that's-
other colleagues, and I've always felt
I'm
that.
a big
I
one.
agree with
for-
that, actually.
You know, I didn't
I
want
said
to,
that when I
take
first
up
got
I
on
said
this board,
one
I got
once
attacked for
a
it.
year, just to feel, and more, it's like, what do you see coming for the year? What's your passion? How's the family? That kind of
Yeah.
thing. I think that's a good one-on-one. I don't think you need more one, you know, than one, maybe a second one if it's budget cycle, just to give you a heads up of, you might hear this, and this about budget cycle. Not asking for input, it's just a one-way, here's the information. But beyond that, think about it. How many hours a month do you spend having one-on-ones with your board?
Yeah, like 2 full days.
Would you like those 2 days back, Scott?
Yes, he would.
yes, he
We're
would.
gonna let the board decide what they do.
I agree, I always said, I don't
You
think,
know what, I do too.
one-on-ones are terrible.
I wanna know what's important
I
to
would say
Joan,
this,
I
I
wanna
think
know
if we
what's
get in,
important
if
to
we get
you.
into a cadence of quarterly meetings, closed session, when we're talking about evaluation, those things can be brought out. The committee, the whole, when I came here, we had talked about how we were gonna do committees, and so it's kind of been a slow roll, but, you know, I think we could fix some of that.
Yep. And then slowly ramp out the.
Well, maybe, that's.
Well, I think,
committee
but
of
I
the
think
whole-
that might be long-term, you start ramping out or go to every other month or start slowing down.
Maybe.
Because again, like you're saying, if there's not value added, we just gave him some really strong marching orders. You know, if you guys take even go every other month and give him 2 days back every other month, you know, it's a lot of time for him to be doing what we're paying him to do and lead our district kind of thing.
And
all I'm
just
saying
so,
is
just so the board
think
knows,
about
if,
it.
I'm not even saying that's where we should go. So then you might say, well, what would the superintendent do instead? I would go and have those meetings, I can think right off the bat, I would go have them with principals. I would get out talking with them. That's something that I feel as the instructional leader, I need to be doing more of, which has not happened at this time. So that's something that I've got to find time to do going forward. And that's probably with Lisa, and we've talked about that, but that's, I gotta be connected with them as well, but.
I'm good, I'll give up mine, you know I struggle to get here anyways.
Well, we'd have to,
So-
I
have a
think,
discussion.
all I'm saying,
Yeah.
we're just planting some seeds,
Yeah.
get this committee, the whole structure
Yeah,
going.
we gotta get that.
And then start figuring out the rest, but all I'm trying to plant seeds to say, you don't have to be married to any one style
Right.
or anything we've always done. You have a new superintendent, now's the time, and it's really the time to do it before the elections come. So you've put good things in place, so whoever comes in or stays in is there for success, because now we've put processes in
Mhm.
place. And so that, he knows what is expected of him, we know what's expected of us, we're collaborating, there's a time and a structure for everybody.
So-
If you don't wanna do one-on-ones, it's up to you guys to decide. I think you gotta do it when the whole board, at least
Mhm.
John Paul's here, so I don't know how long your other board member may be out, so, go ahead, John.
When we do committee of the whole, I just want to get you had experience with it, this is something new to us. First of all, what we're doing now is not meeting the needs of this board, and the board is not meeting the needs of the community. So I love that we're talking about it. I think the committee of the whole, Bob, I know you've talked for a long time about wanting more study sessions. This is really that, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean more time on our calendars,
Nope.
because we're able to repurpose one of our meetings. But when we repurpose one of the meetings, right now we do a lot of information items, and we've always, and to Rob's credit, always said, we don't want to ever vote on something unless we first had it as an information item. Every once in a while we have to, because there'll be a timing constraint or
Right.
something where we just,
Right.
it's a necessity. But we've been really good about making sure our community first hears an information item before we ever take action. Would we assume then that our information items would always be part of that committee of the whole meeting? As first, almost like the set part of the agenda, but then also then board members, if there's a specific issue, then we would be working with the board president to have those
Because
issues.
think about it, you're in a much casualer atmosphere, you're giving him great feedback, so you don't know what's gonna be presented to you in the final version. What you're really doing is giving him some good feedback to say, ooh, I don't have the take I thought I did, or the support I did, let me go back and fix it.
Right.
Because he's not gonna put something on the agenda that you have to vote against. So this gives you,
Exactly.
John Paul's concerned about having feedback, here's your chance.
But that
Have
is
you
how we
thought
do
about
it, just so you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an
Oh, yeah.
information item, and then you have 2 weeks minimum
Right.
before you vote on it.
But it's
and
nice to have
not to-
those
But
away from the business, so we focus on the business, then we're focused on the study.
it gives you a little more
actually
of a
helps.
deep dive, I think, a little more informal
Exactly.
deep dive, which is something we probably could
And
benefit.
again, it's a public meeting, but again, they may be here, you have public comment, but it's you guys having the meeting. That's why they're like this most of the time, because again, a lot of boards have that long table, and you're like this, trying to see the other end.
And
No,
you
you
miss
sit
body
here.
language, and you miss when someone's
Exactly.
frustrated or feeling left
But
out.
it's
yeah.
less formal too, because
Right,
we're not at the
exactly.
board table.
Right.
We're around a conference table with a bottle of water, and
Like it.
we're
Well,
just
I
talking.
think so many problems with this board could have been, or could have not happened if we would have had more like this. Laid back, relaxed, at a table, conversations. I've always been a fan of that.
I recommend that monthly then, so like replacing one of our regular meetings with this.
So 11 do, so they're not adding, they're
Additional meetings,
repurposing.
yeah.
So you're not adding to the schedule, you're just, because you think about it, right now, your two business
Yeah.
meetings are probably almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
Short of
Yeah.
budget, you have the checks on one,
Yeah.
not the
Let's
other,
get a feel.
so you still have the checks on one.
Yeah.
But most of the other stuff, you're not just regurgitating the same things just to have that second meeting.
And if we commit to the 90 minutes and
More or
a
less.
very
It doesn't have to
efficient,
be.
exactly, but I
Our
do think,
meetings don't usually
the
take
reason
that.
we shy away is because it can turn into this whole like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but you can all stop it, you all have to
We
be
need to,
part of
we
it
need to
saying-
keep ourselves,
It's not just the president, everybody's gonna say, well, that's more of this, let's stay on topic and get back on topic. and-
Right.
But some people don't mind they don't mind if they're there till midnight.
Well-
That's a problem.
No, it's not, because at 90
Not
minutes.
if it's a waste of time, again, it's a 40-minute meeting and you're there for 3 hours.
Or some people want to be over in 10 minutes, because they
Well-
want to go do something.
but
Yes, I do.
when you're at a business meeting, I mean, in the office, it's like, from this time to this time, we're gonna talk about this, from this time to this time, you have a very clear, specific agenda, 10 minutes, 10
That's what
minutes,
we're
10
doing
minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and then you're out. And you have to start when you start, and you have to end when you say you're gonna end, because everybody else has meetings, so if we assume we're gonna say, this is our agenda, we're gonna stay on, if we hold ourselves accountable to that, we don't wanna cut any dialogue short,
No,
but we
no,
want to
no.
be,
But really, how many
Intentional.
meetings, if you think about all our meetings, how many truly are we there more than 90 minutes? I'll bet if you take the majority of our meetings, we're out of there in less than 90 minutes.
But how long do we need to be there for 90 minutes?
No, I know, but I'm saying the most,
Well,
So
usually
then we're
we're
a
not.
90-minute meeting, our last one was
Last one
how
was
long?
almost
Last one was
hours.
what?
And we
2
could
to
have cut
3
down a
hours.
half hour of
Yeah.
that because of information we already had.
We could be considering consent agendas as well.
Well, that's what I
Exactly.
thought.
Exactly.
That's a huge
Absolutely.
one. All that
Yep.
stuff should be
Just
one vote,
boom.
no discussion.
Absolutely.
And remember, consent is motion, second vote. There's no discussion. If you want something off the consent, you ask for it to come off the consent, it automatically goes on the regular
and
agenda.
then everything
just
under
say-
that is
And
agreed,
then
right?
one vote.
It's one vote for all of
All
the
that
stuff,
stuff.
right?
So minutes, a lot of times they'll put budgets and, you know,
Check registers.
check registers and all that
Student
mundane
orientate and
rote
here.
stuff. Now, if you have something you wanna pull out, you can ask for it to pull out and automatically
Right.
comes off.
Right.
But otherwise, the idea is, let's take 10 minutes of work and take it down to a minute. Because it's just, I mean, the
And
minutes
it's
are
no
minutes.
It's no-brainer stuff,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
right.
it's stuff that we're all gonna vote 7-0 on,
It-
for the most part.
Resignations. I mean,
Right.
when has
Lot of
ever not
times-
approved
lot of-
resignations?
right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Personnel report, a lot of times they'll, you know, they'll put the resignations
Yeah.
on there.
Right, that's all
You know,
part of the
except
consent.
in consent, they'll leave the new hires
Yeah.
on the regular agenda.
When you got hired and I was going through your contract and just looking at other districts' contracts, started looking at agendas, most districts that I went through
Yep.
had consent
Oh,
agendas.
yes.
I mean, most
It's
of them, that's what
regularly
they do.
used.
Exactly.
It's a great tool.
Mhm.
But again, because there's no discussion, that's the key. There's no discussion on it.
Now, when there's been an issue that somebody, let's say we've got a consent A through G, board member Patricia may say, you know, I'd like to pull B and have further discussion maybe at the next committee. So that's an option, but it wouldn't happen right there if they're not in agreement to push it forward on the consent.
But most
It would
ones
have
that
to
I
be voted
work
on, It
with,
would have to be agreed upon by the vote.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yes,
something
yes.
that's up for vote.
That's right,
most,
yeah.
most
It would
boards
take a lot
will,
of work.
if somebody asks for something off the consent agenda, it comes off the consent agenda. And it gets placed on the regular agenda. So let's say consent
Just
agenda
moves
is
down
4,
immediately, right?
usually
to that
like
same
consent is 4, and now that thing that just came off the consent agenda would be 4A. Now, if you're not prepared for it, you table it for more information. But it
My
comes
kindergarten
up.
teacher resigned, and I want to say goodbye to them at a,
Right.
on a special.
If there was something that just, or, the minutes are totally 100% whacked, we pull it off so you can get them fixed, kind of thing. But the idea for consent is just wipe out in mass a whole lot of regular, mundane, notes and that kind of stuff.
So back to 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, the idea is to spend our time on the right stuff.
Right.
And that's the discussion items that prepare you for your action items that prepare you to lead your district.
What is
And
your,
now we have a strategic plan soon, and you've given him 3 focus areas.
what is your timeline?
What do you mean?
I was just gonna say, we've gotta take some
Implementing
action
this.
here.
I mean,
not right
suggestions
away,
yours.
but-
I said by June 1, you have to have it in place.
Have,
So,
We need to hold.
okay.
so if you could hold that thought for just a minute to the board, what are our next steps? What do we wanna do as a board to work towards this committee of the whole and the consent agenda? Do we need to have more conversation?
I think to be fair to Heather and John Paul, I think we definitely need more conversation
Okay, so-
to decide anything without our full board.
We weren't gonna decide that, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
identify action items,
Right,
that's all.
right.
And I
What
would,
do
I
we
would
need to do
shoot for
next?
July just because I can go through my budget the way we have gone through it,
Right.
without the confusion of changing things. Well, we didn't have it on this agenda compared to that
It's
agenda.
a great time to
My
do
June
it.
Just
1,
July-
my June 1 was to put something in, have a
Okay.
decision.
To make it by July
And
first,
then
that's
effective
our
July
new
first.
school
That
year.
process, you start July.
That's our new school year.
Perfect time, I love
And
it.
part of it
that would
is,
be-
it's gonna take you 30 to
New year?
60 days to re-educate
Yes,
your
that's, I
community,
can
your
practice
staff.
that.
So you
to
wanna,
be- to my
to
July
start,
first.
because you gotta go back and change your meeting schedule to call them out. But you wanna start once you decide, let's say you decide in May, that we're gonna go July 1. Now, May and June, you're gonna wanna put a lot of information to say, hey,
Changing it.
we're going this, and here's how it's gonna work, and that kind of thing, so that they don't go, oh, wait a minute, so that they understand what's going on, so we educate them as part of this process. So July 1, to me, sounds like perfect,
It's a-
because you'll have your strategic plan done and approved, you'll have the budget cycle done.
Our new school
So I
year.
think it's a perfect, my June 1 was for you guys to make a decision.
Okay.
To get the, out, you know, make the decision, we're gonna do it, and what that look like, put the process together by
Committee as
June
a
1.
whole and start.
And we can have those close, if you're, if you guys are all comfortable, we can identify those
Those 4 meetings.
4 meetings
Mhm.
For quarterly.
in July.
And normally we do that in January, when you do this discussion in January, you actually identify the meetings that you're gonna do these in. So they're identified, and a lot of times we set the evaluation schedule in January. What night on the off night, if you guys are a Tuesday night?
Thursday.
Thursday night. So usually on the
First and third.
office, but, you know, first and third, so the second Thursday would be your evaluation kind of thing. There's a lot of times what boards will do.
Evaluation of the business thing, because the business, wouldn't that come later in the?
Separate
Month?
evaluation, final, when you score his evaluation, should be the only thing on the agenda, just like tonight. Call the meeting, do roll call, do the pledge, do your public comment, and go in closed session and do your evaluation. So it should be a separate night, away from the business meeting, because you don't wanna be looking at the clock and go, well, we gotta get out there and do these discussions, or do those before you go, and now you're looking at the clock. You wanna come in fresh,
But because we've been doing the evaluation throughout the year, it should be a pretty simple
90
process.
minutes or less.
Great.
Right, that's what I mean, it isn't,
Yep.
it isn't like, oh, what happened? We're doing it, it's an ongoing project, it should take 15 minutes.
Well,
Right.
I see it, well.
5-minute discussion, 10 minutes of patting on the back.
Yeah, a lot of it is, you know, just making sure we're all clear.
You're
If we do our homework now, like we did tonight, and you keep talking about it for a year, you're exactly right. Because we've done it, we've talked about it on a regular basis. There shouldn't be anything new except for the last 2 months of the year, 3 months of the year. But we've had discussions all year long, we've seen evidence. There's no big data drop at the end of the year. Some boards will come in and there's a big ring binder for them to page through to read, and it's like, no, I want that, and give me some bite size. If we're getting it every week, even a paragraph a week, I can handle that. And I'm a big enough guy that I can probably connect the dots and make some notes, so that when we get to the end of the year and do the evaluation, it should be,
Automatic.
and what we do is, it's consensus, I can live with it. If you get 6-1 and one just refuses, then it's consensus of the whole, or consensus of the majority. We take that 6, whatever that number is from the 6 of you, and we move on. It doesn't allow anybody to hijack the process. And since I'm coming to facilitate it, it's even easier, because I won't let it happen. We won't get hung up, we're gonna get consensus, we're gonna keep moving, plowing through it. So that, I like, if I can get them done in 60 minutes where the superintendent doesn't feel shortchanged, if we feel comfortable coming out of it, it's a win. Because that tells us you did your homework all year long. Where we get in trouble with the long ones is you haven't had the discussions all year. So the first thing you're fighting is, what's this mean to us? What should we have seen? What does it mean to us? Before you can ever say, did he do it or not? Well, it's too late, because we didn't tell him what we wanted. Now, you gave him strong word marching orders tonight, right? 3 things: build the trust, academics, retention, students and staff. Build the trust, right? Get our image going. And that's all of us. Trust and image is all of us. You've given him pretty good, now you're looking for evidence all year. That evidence will then start tying right back in here. You'll find that it's a much easier process, but the outcomes are so much better. Because now we have a process to validate what we're doing.
So I just want to ask you a question about those 3 marching orders.
Yep.
Now, those don't map onto here.
Right, they map in general.
Right, so I want to make that distinction because I don't want that to be lost, which is to say, those are the vision, right? These are the objectives. These are the criteria by which the superintendent fulfills the vision.
Right.
But when he's doing any of these,
He's also building.
he's
towards these.
filtering, so even if he's working on these, he's
Right.
filtering it through the 3 things you gave him.
Yep.
And the vision as a mission statement when you get your strategic plan. So those are kind of like foremost in his thoughts. So as he's doing this, it's like, okay, how does this tie to retaining staff or improving staff? So even if it's PD, it's retaining staff, or communication, like you said tonight, meeting with your administrators on a more regular basis. You can tie that right back here, because there's, in the one section in E, there's one educational leadership, building level leadership, E2. So you said we want to do better on our staff, but now there's a place for us to tangibly, but we want it to be bigger than specific line items. I think you guys are in a position that you need to do that this year versus do this one. You gotta have those bigger goals and have the commitment that we're gonna have a regular discussion. And so that builds you've gotta build trust. You have to build capacity. Your staff needs you to, your community needs you to. You need to do it for each other. Whether you're getting along or not, when you come off that threshold, there's 7 people who care about Waterford.
My other question would be, how important is it for us to begin to look at board policies? By which I mean, not the bylaws, but how those bylaws are spelled out and how they're enacted in our interactions.
Policies, first off, should be touched once every 3 years at minimum. So if you're not touching them on a regular basis, you need to get them, you should be touching every one.
We are through Neola.
At least, well, Neola's fine, but
No, I know, but I'm saying,
Yeah,
when we get
specify.
those
Right.
Neola updates and we see where we agree, where we disagree, where all
Right.
these things, I'm saying we definitely annually at least are.
right,
And there's
but
other policies.
there's a
that
lot of other
help us.
policies in there. What we're saying is don't let any of them get long in the tooth. Even if you renew it, say, we've looked at it, it's still timely, it meets our needs, just put the renewal date. Because it's one of our 3 jobs, we're saying, hey, we're doing one of our 3 jobs. Doesn't need to, we joke, but I saw a policy years ago that said where they tie the horses up.
See, I would
It
love.
gets in the policy, it never gets out of the policy, and that's why we touch them every 3 years. Once we're comfortable there, the next step would be not your bylaws, but I would look at doing board operating procedures. So we look at your bylaws and your procedures there, because the procedures is, if this happens, this is what we do. So it's kind of taking those bylaws and morphing them out. What's our agenda look like? The committee of the whole structure. So think about a new board member coming in. You hand them this how-to book. It's how we function, it's our operating procedures, it's what we do.
How we've always done it.
But it's a
But we wrote it now. But see now, instead of what, or, you know, you're nervous, think about your first board meeting, it's like you nod your head a lot and pray you don't screw up. But if I had this tool as soon as I came on the board, oh, that's when I get my board packet and what it looks like, and who do I ask my questions of, and here's what the agenda looks like, and here's what I do to get it on the agenda. What do I do when a community member contacts me? What do I do when a staff member gets hold of me, or the media gets hold of me? Because you know they're gonna flesh out the newest people. So if we give them the tools and say, it's okay, they don't own you, and you can, you know, our designated spokesperson is our superintendent, and our board spokesperson is, but it's written down, so it's not like, oh, you're just telling me to shut me up. See, no, because we all agreed to it. So it's not about shutting anybody up, it's not about outing anybody or preventing anybody. It actually gives the minority a bigger voice, because now there's processes in place for everybody to function as a team, whether you're in the majority, minority, happy, sad. So I would look at board procedures. I would look at it as second and third quarter of this year, or third and fourth quarter of this year. Get through the governance changes, your strategic plan, get into July, August, and then maybe start talking about it. But I would set 2 goals for you tonight. June 1, have your committee, the whole structure set up. I'd write it out. Here's what we're doing. Here's the process. Here's how it gets on the agenda. Everybody agree for July 1 launch, kind of thing. You can do it now. I mean, but by June 1, we're agreeing to have it done.
Okay, so hold that thought.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to say, so given that we're committing to that,
Yep.
what do we as a board, what are our next steps? That's not a question to you, Scott.
Megan is gonna explain to us what the processes are going to be, what it's gonna look like,
Well-
and the changes that are coming.
He's like, nope, not me.
Well,
So that's what I thought.
what I'm
Megan's just
thinking
gonna
is
call Scott.
we maybe want
Yes.
we maybe want to have some people on point to go look at what other people's committee as a whole agenda looks like. Maybe we meet as, I don't know, maybe we meet as, what are your thoughts, Mr. President?
I had Brad emailed me all the information at committee of a whole.
Oh,
First
okay.
step was I could email them.
Okay, fantastic. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So
no, I talked to
okay.
Brad, a couple times last week, and I think it is important maybe to set the context here. We are an anomaly with how we govern ourselves, and I think our lack of.
You said we're unique.
Yes, we are unique. And also without having those board operating procedures. We're sort of left at sea more often than not because of those.
when we went to that conference, MASB, in one of the classes, somebody asked, there's probably 30 people, and they asked everybody who has board operating procedures, and I think me and one other district out of 30 were the only ones who didn't have it. Everybody else did, and they were shocked we didn't.
I left a legacy. Because when I started teaching that class, there was 0 in the state of Michigan.
That had board operating
They had
procedures.
more procedures.
Yeah, and now most do.
And most do. So, we did some
You're
good.
gonna be helpful.
Yay! Yeah, I wrote the class, I have all the examples, that's, so
I'll-
that's why
I'll also ask
you don't
Scott
have
forward his
to, you don't
materials.
have to, we can help, you just call me and we'll come out and we'll help you get through them, so. There's a process there, but
That's
yeah.
July, so hold that thought too. We gotta get started.
We
with
can't
the
travel out of
committee
state
of the
anymore, so you might as well.
Right.
whole. Okay,
So that was a third, fourth quarter challenge, taking up the board operating procedures.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So I would say by the end of the year, your goal would be by the end of the year to have a procedures meeting in place.
All right. Yeah.
Calendar year, December.
Okay.
And I would start ramping it up before that, because once you start getting, and you get your first procedure agreed to, you have a manual. There's no start and end point. It's not like I gotta have 5 to
right,
have a
it'd be a living
Once you have the
document.
first one, it's in there, we just keep building to it. And I would challenge you when we do it, if I help you, is we would look at the things, what are the 10 things brand new board members need? And you get those done first, so that when the new board members come in, you have orientation in there. You have all these things that'll help that new board member get up to speed real quick. And then we can go beyond that to flesh it out. It's an ongoing process. Because every time something jumps off, you either add a procedure or you fix your procedure kind of thing. But I would focus on those, and we can help you through that process. So,
Thank you.
so those are 2 goals. You got a short-term goal, governance, committee of the whole, get it done, set it up. You're gonna send a letter out, what's your next step after you send the letter out?
Solicit feedback.
Implementation.
Get consensus, and then
You have it.
start building, once you have consensus,
Yeah.
then you start putting an action plan together of the steps that you need to go through, things, and everybody should be, feeding you information on, did you think of this, did we think of that, changing, silly things like changing our meeting date calendar on the website. Because right now it says business meeting. It's semantics, but we want people to know those are committee of the whole sessions or study sessions, whatever
Reserving this
word,
room.
Yeah, we
whatever you come up with what the name
Our
is.
meetings, don't we?
We used to have them references interim and regular meetings,
Right, we
but
do that
the
more.
Open Meetings Act kind of prefers that unless they are
Just
special
open.
meetings, that you refer to them as regular meetings. So
Okay.
I've started to refer to them at all of our regularly scheduled
Yeah.
meetings as regular.
But you can always put regular meeting, underline study session or whatever, just so that people know that you're not going in per se
So we
to
would,
pass a lot of business and then.
Yeah. so again, we would only be using like town hall once a month then? We'd be coming here to do more of the study session type work.
Well, I think it's a question. I think.
Well, no,
But
that's
I
what it
think
sounds
it's a
like
question
you're
of
in.
But
whether
that's-
or
but
not we
that's-
take those meetings.
That's consensus, and that's what I'm saying, you gotta, once you come to consensus in the next few weeks, then everybody's gotta start throwing those questions out. What about this? Have we thought about that? Taping, what are our other policies? Somebody's gotta go through the policy book and make sure it doesn't say we have to meet every 2 weeks as a business meeting. If we do, then we gotta change the policy.
This will revamp most of our
Right.
bylaws. so.
Yeah, so we
So
need
it's a good
to,
opportunity
so that's all
to refresh them
things that
all
have to
and
be
stuff.
thought out, so fleshed out, so that's what I'm saying, once you get consensus, the next thing is start writing an action plan. Everybody feed, whoever's doing that can feed, did
So,
you think of it?
Do
Did
you
think
sell
of
a
it?
book? I mean, you teach the class, you must sell a book on how you do this.
Or
stuff. It's a-
procedures or?
It sounds like it's a whole, scam type thing where I'm teaching the class, I'm gonna sell you the stuff. Is that how it works?
I'm not selling services.
Okay, I just wanted to check, I wasn't sure, I mean, if that was the opportunity,
It was an
It was how much
opportunity,
was
and
it?
I missed that opportunity.
okay. You kinda did, if you taught the classes and everyone's doing it, I just
Well,
figured
for
that,
procedures,
yeah.
committee of the whole, but we have a form, because we use it for implementation.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I can send you for you to ask those questions, what are you trying to accomplish, why, what's the steps, who's responsible? It's a form we use actually for implementation meeting.
And if
So
it
you'll see it
fails,
then?
we can always revert back
You
to
can
our
blame-
unique way.
Exactly.
But I guess
See,
we
that's
have
the
to
nice
find
part.
something.
It's consensus, we're not
Yes.
having to vote
Yes.
on it, we can
Yes.
change it any
And
point.
that's, I like
See, and you can even say, we're gonna pilot it for a year
that, I like that.
and review it. And
That
that
sounds-
way, if somebody's really frustrated, no, we're gonna pilot for X amount of months, and then we'll, as a team, review how it's working and see, you know, so you're committing that at a certain
We're gonna
point.
try it, but we're
Try
gonna,
it till the
But
first
we're
year,
open
we'll
to-
change it.
think, yeah, we might be able to improve it, we might be able to modify it.
And maybe it doesn't
That's
work
the
out
needs
for
of
you.
the- Yeah, exactly.
So,
Scott, I want to make sure too, from where we're at right now, we're setting our first touchstone with Scott around this in June. Is that
Mhm.
okay?
I believe we have to do, and, yeah, we are contractually obligated to do his
Evaluation by,
evaluation, because he won't have
By
been
June
here a
1st?
year, by June 30th, I think it's June 30th. The calendar year, and, I mean, the,
so I guess you're not doing a touch base, you're doing an evaluation.
we're doing an evaluation.
Right.
June
Yeah,
first
'cause
of
we
each
have to
fiscal
give
year,
a-
June
right.
first in 2020.
okay, so we need to start that
Before
process
June
now.
1st then?
Mhm.
Okay.
Just say all highly effective.
I thought we were just gonna, I missed something in that whole, I thought we were just gonna give him effective because it was his first year.
We talked about that, but not
You did that
everybody
in
wanted to
December
do it.
when you didn't have anything to evaluate them on. Even now,
Right,
what are you gonna evaluate them
I
on?
mean, because we have to be able to compare it to old to new, right?
You didn't tell them what you
Just how
wanted.
he's doing that.
Yeah.
Well, he has
Is he
been
doing
here, he
satisfactory?
will have been here a full year at
Yeah.
that point.
To be
so-
honest, I can align some things that we're doing that's aligned to this goal.
Okay.
So,
Right,
one of those things is, you know, I'm just gonna throw this out, so I could be working on that and send that out to all board members, I'd say before the end of the month, unless you want that sooner, but,
But I do think, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I don't think this board wants you spending a lot of time.
Selling yourself.
Right, I think your time is better spent leading the district in implementing vision than
Thank you, yeah.
pulling a whole bunch of,
Yeah.
a big binder stuff together.
Well, yes,
But
that's.
there is, I mean.
But
we-
there- but
But
does
he also
also
has
have-
to give that out
Understood.
there, or else people are gonna give him ineffective or minimally
It could be
effective.
it could be a one
In your
pager.
board
But I think we need
notes,
to have a conversation, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
If we're-
yeah.
Now, because we're only in mid-March and we have until June 1st, so we've got the rest of March, April, May. I think we should have a conversation now and then a follow-up conversation, so at least we can start having those conversations and start now. There's no reason we have to wait,
And remember, it's consensus now.
right?
So
Right.
everybody's committed to me coming to an agreement. So if you think he isn't effective, you have a responsibility to change everybody's mind.
Justify why.
And exactly.
Justify, not just because.
No, you have to justify it. What am I missing? What didn't I say? But you have to, part of it is that building of trust, because I may not have seen it, but you did. I have to trust what you're sharing with me, because that's the strength of this, is now we got 7 sets of eyes out there, not just my set. Because I'm
We've always
looking,
had that, though.
huh?
We've always had that.
Yeah, but most of us only scored it with what I saw. Most board members just sat from their side of the fence, especially when we used to do the averaging. You just scored it with what you saw. And if you didn't like what you saw, you marked it down and averaged it and brought the score down. Now it's, you gotta come together, sit together and say, okay, I saw this, he's saying, well, remember when I shared this? You're right, they gotta justify it. They can't say he's minimally effective if they
But
can't
again,
justify
we
it.
used to do that, when we'd score, you know, if we gave a low mark, we had to explain why,
Mhm.
what we, you know, where we fell short, and sometimes they say, yeah, I gotta work harder on that, or, no, you missed this, it's,
But you didn't hit, with averaging, it still fails.
yes.
Because, again, if you have 3 of you highly effective, you're effective, and the 3 of us say minimally effective, his score is effective. But that's not really what the board's trying to tell him, because 3 say he's jumped the bar, clear, and 3 said he never even got to the bar. See, if we're starting to work towards consensus, we have a responsibility to justify to you why, and get you to see us and come down, like, and you have to justify us to drive us up. But we have a responsibility that if the evidence is there, we can't fight it. The evidence is the evidence. That's why you're not telling me what you did, show me what you did.
so I have a question, so then we would have a closed session before June? To say what everybody, because I don't really like the phone call conversations and come to my
You don't
side.
pre-score.
Okay,
That's the key. You don't pre-score. You come in the room with your notes of what you saw.
okay.
But don't,
Foolproof conversation, because you're right, Julie, especially something of this magnitude. It's a
No,
full,
you come in-
full board.
Full board goes in closed session, you only have one employee, so we should all be doing the evaluation, we don't need a committee. But what you do is you look at your tool, and you write your notes of things you saw or things you need clarification on. But don't score it, because if you score it ahead of time, you're locking yourself in. It's just human nature says, I'm not coming off that. I feel he's there, and that's where it's gonna stay. But if you come in open, haven't prejudged it, now let's have the conversation. You know, you've seen what you've seen, but you're listening, or you're asking questions, well, I didn't see anything on this, did anybody else? That strikes, because it's the conversation more than just the number on the sheet. It's that conversation and the body language is what's so strong on this process than it is just the scoring of the sheet, numbers on the sheet.
So should we do that at our next meeting, next week?
No.
Well,
Evaluate them,
no, the closed session.
to evaluate them.
Well, no,
Well,
to
no,
start the
because-
conversation.
Yeah,
We haven't
because
had any
let's say there's
conversation.
like, let's say I think he's doing a great job and you think that there's 3 things on that list that he's not doing, then we should meet, because that gives him 90 days to fix whatever you think he needs to fix. I mean, I really think to
Or
just to be
concerns,
fair to him,
Or, yeah.
we should do it as soon as possible.
Shouldn't he also have but before that, shouldn't he have the opportunity to present evidence
he's
to
gonna
Adam?
Self-evaluation.
In other words,
You're not evaluating them.
but
But if we're talking
It's
about
the week
evaluation,
before they get
how do we
ahold
talk
of
about
you.
where he's low on, if he hasn't shown us that he's been doing this the whole time? I just don't know about it. I'm saying he's low,
Well, that's what he was saying, he can tie some of his
Right.
things to it.
right, but it'd take him to the end of the month, just to get the basic.
Mhm.
Because again, I don't want this as a top priority, so again, I don't mean to knock you off
So,
the next one, but
I would
the
schedule
beginning of the
it,
next,
But
That's
have
like
you
schedule it
even,
after he's had opportunity.
but without him giving us a.
So maybe the first meeting in April?
We don't have one, well, we only have one in April.
No, we have to.
but with,
Oh, with spring
but
break,
with
we
your
do?
individual
Spring break is the-
meetings
Oh, the following
and
week,
our
isn't
board
it? That's right.
notes and,
So the
and
third
the
is
media
third,
stuff and the, I mean, you wouldn't have,
That's right.
there's not anything that you think he would need to work on or that you're not pleased with it. I mean, I feel that if I had to score him right now, based on my conversation with him, based on, a lot of the criteria on this, I feel like I could do it given the stuff that I've seen in the board notes, in his conversations that he sends to us, in the one-on-ones, and what I hear from everybody else. That's just my own personal
No, I agree
feeling.
with you.
I think part of what maybe I would want to have some artifacts is because it's a lot easier to point to those. Like if someone challenges me, then I'll just say, well, that's just what I think and what I feel. And if I have some artifacts in front of me, that's a lot easier for you and I, or me and Joan, to have a conversation on these artifacts, as opposed to, you know what I mean? It just helps me to make the documentation support our particular opinions.
You definitely need that for when you're scoring.
Right.
Right,
This is just
but
this is a touch base, this first one.
Beginning
Yeah.
discussion.
this is just for something that you, maybe things that people think that he hasn't started working on yet, or
But
he
if he
thought he was
has-
gonna work on.
We're having a conversation feeling negative towards something he's already done, without having something to back up that he has been doing it, we didn't know about it.
But it's only negative if you say it's negative, like.
No, if you say he
said
hasn't
to
done
get a hold of. I'm not saying he isn't.
No, if
what
someone
I'm-
else does.
Okay, but isn't that person, like, if Joan thinks that he's not doing whatever, C3, then she would tell Mike, you know, I have issues, I don't think that he's doing C3. And then we would all know that it was C3, and he would put together whatever he thinks he's doing for C3, and then we would discuss it.
I
Isn't
think
that what
the
you
best thing
said?
you could do is first you need to talk to John Paul, but the first thing I would do is you guys take before, even next week, any area or any questions, do the questions. So he's not jumping all over the place. So it's what, Tuesday? So by Sunday evening, anything you want answered, any questions, any specific ones or questions you have, send them to your board president. You give them, so then you're only focused on that. Let's get him focused. The rest is, you know where he's at. You've seen evidence, you're happy with it. So he's only focused. He can get a report back to you quicker that way. Then you go in and just have a discussion. Okay, here's where he's at. Are there other things that you want him to focus on in the next 60 days before you actually score his June rubric? That way he's only, again, we're pulling him in here because he's done a lot. So if there's things you question, or you want to see evidence of, or hey, get him over by Sunday evening, So Monday, you're sending them to Scott. You're gonna get them turned around as quick as you can, and that way you can get it at your next meeting. Does that work?
I'm just, I'm a little bit confused, 'cause I thought those sort of vision, the sort of 3 marching orders we gave tonight, he's now aware of. So it would be my assumption that, like, this next meeting would be a touchstone where he would then give us some, in a really abridged form, and then that would be our point of
But
conversation.
our touch base always starts with us at giving him feedback of what we're looking for. Remember, the 2 weeks out questions, 1 week out report. We're trying to do the same thing so that he's not guessing in this big rubric what you guys want. If you all sent 1 or 2 questions over, now he knows that's the 8, 10 things that he needs to focus on. And if 3 or 4 of you ask the same question, it's a tickler for him to say, oh, I haven't done a good job of getting that information out. Again, there's reasons we do that because it helps him focus his efforts to meet your needs. And so if you ask your question, you can do as simple as A3 and A5, or hey, can we get evidence about the teacher hires or teacher retention, whatever. Quick, down and dirty, don't send it over, you compile it into a list. You're looking for commonalities. And then send it over to Scott. So Monday he can do that. Shouldn't take you a lot of hours because now you're answering specific questions. Here's the question. Here's the answer. Goes to the whole board.
So then I turn that around to the board president
And you send it out to the whole board.
to the board.
And the whole board has it before you go into your closed session whenever your next meeting is.
Now let me ask you, because that's leading up to a vote, because we're doing all that via emails, groups and all that, that's not any violation of the Open Meetings Act or anything?
You're asking for information.
Okay.
You're not scoring it. You're only scoring it together, and you're not even scoring it at this touch base. This is strictly a discussion.
Okay.
Even in June when you do it, because usually when we do the last one, he does a self-assessment 2 weeks out. Instead of our questions, it flips. He does a self-assessment a week out after we get that 2 weeks out. By the week out, we ask any other questions or artifacts that we're looking for, so that he's prepared when we come together to do the evaluation. But again, it's all information, one way, no reply alls.
Again, and
No
that's where Mike would do
deliberation.
the BCC to the board and say, don't reply.
Yep,
Right.
when you send it out to the board, it's just blind. Here's the answers to the, it's nothing, what he's giving you really is nothing more than what he's doing in his weekly updates. Because we're not saying he's doing a bad job or a good job. So we're not evaluating him, we're not saying the job he's doing, which would have to happen in closed session as an employee who has that right. All this is strictly information. You could be asking him, how many water bottles do we go through in a month? Well, how's that really tied back to his evaluation? So you're not putting him out, it's just, you're really doing information gathering, but really what you're doing is you're helping the gentleman figure out what you want. Instead of him guessing, him trying to figure out what 7 people want, no, the 7 people together as a team are telling our one employee, here's what we're looking for, here's the topics, here's the information. You don't want to do 50 questions each, 1 or 2. And then he knows, these are the questions. I answer these, my board's going to be happy, because they got their top priorities answered.
So at that meeting, we talk about the stuff that he's given us in response to these questions.
Continue to do more of, do less of. That's how we frame it. So he shares it with you, you like what he's doing, continue to do it, Scott. Ooh, slow down, you're way ahead of where we need you to be. Do less of that because you need to get with your administrators. So frame it that way, continue to do more of, do less of. So everybody's in agreement what the direction the board's telling them that. We all agree, do less of that, do more of that. Makes his life so much easier when he knows where his board is as a team. And because we're all together, he can still read the individuals. So if he can read somebody who's just really foaming at the mouth or frustrated, then he can call him in and have that discussion and say, I could tell you just weren't happy last night. What's going on? Let's talk. But see, then we're working with a much cleaner line.
So we
And I'm
send the
available-
questions to the board president.
Yep, by
and-
Sunday night.
And we only, to him, we don't copy the whole board or
No,
anything
just
like
him.
that, just wanna make sure, yeah.
One-way direction, he's just gonna cobble them all together into a list and get them over to Scott.
Okay.
Or over to Megan, who will get them, just, because we know Megan's gonna do it anyways.
So I just want to, I know, thank you so much, Scott. I'm just going to sort of summarize the things that we have on our table here. So we have the superintendent evaluation, that's pressing, that's number one. Our governance model, we call it, or that's our
Yep.
pressing issue number two.
Yep.
And then finally, our board operating procedures, number three, right? So we're going to deal with each of these in turn. We'll start off with our superintendent evaluation, we'll get that buttoned up, or started anyway, and then later on, we'll move to talking and thinking about the board governance, because we need to talk to Heather and John Paul, and later on in the year, we will switch to our focus to these board operating procedures.
So Sunday, everybody gets their questions,
Yep.
that's the time, right? We're all, so you got that, you know, it's by Sunday, questions to you, Monday to him, and he'll get them back out to you so that you, Megan, on the next meeting, you can put that executive session, closed session on it. All right?
Any questions for Scott? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you all,
Excellent.
great meeting, thank
Good
you.
stuff.
Moving adjourned.
Yeah, isn't it nice to have marching order?